Chapter 23:31. Oh, then tell me, what's your solution? She asked with a smile. It's nothing much. I just told them that it's not impossible to live here. However, in order to be able to live in peace in the future, I'll let them sacrifice a wisp of their divine souls to Master. With this guarantee, they naturally won't attack them. Hearing this, Fengjiu nodded. This is indeed the simplest and most direct method. This method was feasible, but there was one thing he did not know. In the end, she would have to break this barrier and array and turn this floating land into her territory. At that time, the devil cultivator and the others would naturally not allow them to stay here. Then, if they couldn't stay here, they could only leave this place. As for being able to leave this place, she believed that this was something that these people, including Songqing, didn't expect because they already felt that they could only live here for the rest of their lives. So the problem she was worried about was that in the future, when the barrier and array were opened, allowing them to leave this place, would the devil cultivators and evil cultivators, as well as those bloodthirsty and ferocious cultivators, become even worse after leaving this place? Would they become a bully? If she only wanted them to sacrifice a wisp of their divine souls, they naturally wouldn't dare to commit crimes where she was. But if they went to other places that she didn't know, it was hard to say. However, it was undeniable that if those devil cultivators sacrificed a wisp of their divine souls and pinched it in her hand, then those people would never attack her and become her enemies. Because as long as she moved her divine sense, they would die in an instant. However, if they only sacrificed a wisp of their divine souls, would she be able to let them leave this place in the future? At this point, she still had to think it over again. Songqing saw her pondering there, and his heart was slightly surprised. So he asked, "Is this method feasible?" Fengjiu glanced at him and meaningfully said, "I'm just a little worried." Hearing this, Songqing smiled. What's there to be worried about? Anyway, it's just inside this place. Moreover, there were words first, so they certainly wouldn't dare to joke around with their lives. Then let's have someone arrange it. Tomorrow, let them line up one by one to come in. Fengjiu instructed, then turned and left. Seeing this, Songqing also stood up and walked forward unsteadily to arrange tomorrow's matters. The next morning, because of Fengjiu's instructions, his subordinates had already arranged everything. In the Phoenix City, the devil cultivators and evil cultivators, as well as those who weren't recruited, were already lining up and discussing in low voices. I heard that the Phoenix Master has come out of seclusion. Today, as long as we take out a strand of our divine souls, they won't kill us because we're devil cultivators or evil cultivators. Actually, this is also good. I've been on tenterhooks for the past few months. Now that I've been trapped here forever, I still have to worry about being killed at any time. It's not easy to be vigilant at all times. That's right. Even though we've already seen through life and death, who would wish to die if they could avoid it? That's right. Right now, I just want to offer a strand of my soul to the Phoenix Master and leave this place. In the future, I will definitely avoid her as far as I can from now on. Chapter 23:32. Everyone looked over and saw a red figure, surrounded by the crowd, slowly walk over and sit down on the chair in front. After the red figure sat down, the cultivators of Phoenix City slowly took a step forward and respectfully saluted with one knee. "Greetings, Master." Seeing so many cultivators, so many powerhouses, so many arrogant and unruly cultivators full of killing intent, respectfully saluting the red figure on the main seat and calling her Master, the visual impact and the shock to their hearts made the people watching from the back feel their hearts tremble. They were all evildoers who had been exiled here. They were all experts who could dominate a region outside. Wherever they went, people would look at them with reverence. But when they arrived here, they'd all submitted to the woman called Fengjiu, the Phoenix Master. They'd submitted to her because of her methods, her strength, and her courage, and they'd submitted to her wholeheartedly. "Everyone rise." Fengjiu waved her hand, and a soft voice came out of her mouth. It carried the aura of spiritual power and clearly passed into the ears of the people around her. She raised her eyes to take a look. What entered her eyes was a sea of densely packed heads. The The total number of people here added up to about 2,000. Thank you, Master. Everyone responded and stood up. The teams retreated and quietly guarded the surroundings. Old Gu, who was standing beside Fengjiu, gestured, and 2 cultivators carried a table and placed it in front of Fengjiu. Then, she took out something and placed it on the table. Even Song Qing, who was on the other side, found it strange. He didn't know what she was doing, let alone the others. Song Qing, let's begin, Fengjiu said. Hearing this, Song Qing came to the side of the table and looked at the people standing in the city. He said, "Everyone knows why we are here today, so let's not delay any longer. Let's begin. Those with the strongest strength will go first." His voice passed into everyone's ears. When they heard this, the several immortal venerables standing at the front looked at each other and walked forward one by one to Fengjiu. Phoenix Master, although unfettered venerable lord has already said those words, we still want to hear you say it again. Only then can we be at ease. A demon venerable said, his eyes falling on Fengjiu's exquisite face. Even though she was a peerless beauty that was rarely seen in the world, when they looked at her face and thought of her methods and courage, they could not bring themselves to have any thoughts of profaning her. Hearing this, Fengjiu glanced at the several immortal venerables in front of her and stood up. Her eyes swept across the people behind them, and a cold voice with a trace of spiritual power and pressure came out of her mouth. As long as each of you offers a strand of your divine soul to me, and don't kill the innocent and do evil everywhere in the future, I naturally won't take your lives. However, if I find out that you've killed the innocent and do evil everywhere, I, Fengjiu, will now put my words here. I will kill you no matter how far you are. Chapter 23:33. Perhaps it was due to the impact of her words, but no one made a sound. A devil cultivator at the immortal venerable level pursed his lips, glanced at Fengjiu, and offered up a strand of his spirit. Fengjiu glanced at him and kept that strand of his spirit. Then she said to him, "Stretch out your right hand." The demonic cultivator was stunned. He only hesitated for a moment before reaching out with his right hand. Then she dipped a brush in something red that looked like cinnabar and drew a flame pattern on the back of his hand. Within the pattern, she wrote a single word. "Old Gu, draw according to this pattern and write a number." Fengjiu said to Old Gu, who was beside her. Old Gu stepped forward to take a look and nodded. "Okay." Thus, Fengjiu asked someone to bring a chair for Old Gu to sit on and handed the brush to him. She watched from the side as she collected the spirits offered up by those people one by one. On this day, she busied herself until evening before she finished collecting everyone's spirits. Old Gu and Song Qing took turns to draw the pattern and write the number. After they finished writing the pattern and number on the last person's right hand, they stopped. "Master, there's a total of 1,999 people." Old Gu reported the number of people. Fengjiu nodded and looked at those devil cultivators who were standing. At this moment, she said to them, "Since you've offered up a strand of your spirit to me, it's equivalent to your lives being in my hands. Then, I'll tell you a piece of news." Hearing this, everyone's hearts inexplicably jumped. Many people's expressions changed slightly as they thought to themselves, "She wouldn't go back on her word, right? Could it be that she wants to cut off their spirits and kill them?" Even the people of Phoenix City were slightly startled when they heard this. They were curious as to what news their master had to tell them after being in closed-door cultivation for so long. Fengjiu's lips curled up slightly when she saw that everyone's expressions had changed. A faint smile blossomed on her lips. Her brows were filled with a breathtaking confidence, and a clear and unhurried voice came out of her mouth clearly. "The news I want to tell you is that not long from now, I will open the spirit formation here and allow you to leave this isolated place." The moment this news came out, the entire Phoenix City suddenly went silent. Everyone was stunned. After being stunned for a long time, there was an explosion of cries of shock and disbelief. How was that possible? Did she say that she could break the barrier array here? Let's leave this isolated place? How could this be? I don't believe it. But, how I wish it was true. Will there really be a day when we leave? Can I really leave? This place is set up by 4 immortal sovereigns. There's also a restriction in the sky. No matter how powerful she is, she's only an immortal venerable expert. How can she save us when she was brought here? I don't believe it. No, no, no. It must be true. What the Phoenix Master said must be true. I believe in her. I believe in her. Yes, yes, yes. She's so powerful. She must be able to break the barrier and array here. She must be able to. Chapter 23:34. After telling them the news, Fengjiu turned and left. Seeing her leave, Old Gu, Song Qing, Gu Xiang, and the others looked at each other and involuntarily followed her. The others sent off the devil cultivators who were still in a state of excitement. Only the few immortal venerables were shocked after hearing Fengjiu's words. They didn't want to leave and wanted to ask for an explanation. However, the people of Phoenix City carried out the order to expel the devil cultivators from Phoenix City and close the boundary. They could only guard outside Phoenix City and wait for an opportunity to ask what was going on. Would there really be a day when they could leave this place? Old Gu, Song Qing, and the others followed her all the way until they arrived inside. After seeing her sit down in the courtyard, Old Gu couldn't wait to ask, "Master, is what you said before true? Can we really leave this place?" His voice was filled with unconcealable excitement. Because of this excitement, his clasped hands faintly trembled. Of course it's true. As she spoke, she looked at the 2 women from the Gu family who brought the dishes. She took out a wine gourd from her space and drank while eating. She said, "It's just that it'll take some time." Hearing this, several people looked at each other and revealed excited smiles. As long as there's a day when we can leave, no matter how long it takes, we'll wait. They didn't ask any more questions. Instead, they got a confirmation from her mouth and absolutely believed that they could leave this place. In fact, it wasn't that this place wasn't good. However, the reason why it wasn't good was because this was a place that had been set up with restrictions. This was a place where there were only evil people and no ordinary people. This place didn't even have grains and other things that could be found in the small town outside. However, if there was a day when this place could be connected to the outside world, this place would become a different place. At least, they all knew that the spiritual energy in this place was very rich. It was also because of this that this place could be set up with such a large boundary, formation, and restriction. They left the courtyard with excitement in their hearts. When they arrived outside, the people of Phoenix City surrounded them one by one and asked. When they received confirmation from them, they heard a burst of cheers from the entire Phoenix City. Hearing the cheers in the city, Fengjiu, who was eating and drinking in the courtyard, couldn't help but smile. She raised her head to look at the sky. Her eyes moved slightly as she thought of her family and friends. He had not seen them for more than half a year. He wondered how they were doing. Is everything all right? Did Xianyuan Mose, who had gone overseas, send any news back? I really do miss them and Grandpa and Father. I wonder if they're doing well over there. She murmured softly, thinking that time really passed quickly. If little Feng Yi hadn't died when the Feng family was in trouble, how good would it be if the whole family was there now? Thinking of this, she sighed softly. When she left this place, she would find a chance to go back and see if they were doing well. Chapter 23:35. Another half a year passed. Fengjiu, who was sitting cross-legged in the space, was cultivating. On this day, his entire body's spiritual energy and profound force aura were surging. The spiritual energy in his body surged, and the aura of the green lotus in his dantian also overflowed and filled the entire space. That familiar feeling told her that she was about to break through. After cultivating for half a year, she was finally about to break through the immortal venerable rank and enter the immortal emperor rank. She immediately took out the pill she had prepared for breaking through the immortal venerable rank and entering the immortal emperor rank. This time, she must break through to the peak of the immortal emperor rank. Only then would her strength be enough to shock the 4 immortal emperors. Moreover, the 4 immortal emperors had been immortal emperors for many years. Their current strength was probably even higher than that. Only by breaking through to the immortal emperor rank would she be able to catch their attention. As the aura in the space changed, the heaven and earth in the space also changed. While she was breaking through in the space, the people outside did not know that it would not be long before they could all leave this place. In Phoenix City, Old Man Goo and the others were busy in an orderly manner. Some were assigned to hunt fierce beasts, some were stationed in the city, and some were patrolling outside. Since Feng Jiu told them that she could take them out of this place half a year ago, the smell of blood here seemed to have lessened a lot. There were very few people fighting and robbing for little things. Those with high cultivation also didn't easily kill those with low cultivation. To them, nothing was important now. Being able to leave this place was the most important thing. Therefore, they had been waiting for that day to come. Many people often gathered outside Phoenix City's gates and waited here. If there was any news, they would be the first to know. However, Phoenix City's gates were often closed and would only open when someone entered or left. Even if they wanted to know, without the permission of the people in charge of Phoenix City, the news would not reach their ears. This continued until 12 signal flares were released in the sky above Phoenix City. The people outside Phoenix City rushed back after seeing the signal flare. In the next few days, they only saw people rushing back to Phoenix City. They wanted to find out what had happened. However, no one paid them any attention. What do you think is going on? Why did the people in Phoenix City send out 12 signals in a row to gather the people outside? I'm thinking, could it be that the Phoenix Lord wants to open the boundary array here? That's why she gathered everyone back. Really? It's only been half a year since she said those words. In less than half a year, she already knows how to break the boundary array? What else could it be? Now that the four sides are in harmony, there have been very few people fighting and killing in the past half a year. Apart from the matter of breaking the boundary formation, I don't think there should be anything else that could make her use 12 signal flares to summon everyone back. We can finally leave this place. Chapter 23:36. Inside the Phoenix City, everyone was standing side by side. Each and every one of them was looking at the magnificent red figure that was slowly walking out. Everyone's gaze fell on her, and the respect and worship in their eyes were so obvious. As her figure moved, their gazes also moved. Feng Jiu slowly walked out and stopped in front of everyone. Looking at the figures standing respectfully in the city, her voice, which contained spiritual power, clearly entered everyone's ears. I called you all back because I have something to tell you. Feng Jiu looked at them and slowly said, Tomorrow, I'm going to open the boundary array here, but you all know that this place is a boundary array set up by 4 immortal emperors. Once the boundary array is broken and the restriction here is lifted, it will inevitably alarm the 4 immortal emperors. I'm telling you today because I want you all to be prepared. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up, and they said sonorously, Master, don't worry. We're always ready. Even if we have to fight, we won't be afraid. Hearing this, Feng Jiu nodded and said, Tomorrow, we'll see the situation and listen to my orders. If we can avoid fighting, then it's best not to. Otherwise, fighting with immortal emperors will definitely result in heavy casualties. Today, you all have a good rest, and wait for tomorrow to come. Yes. Everyone responded in a deep voice, and it was difficult to conceal the excitement in their voices. It was estimated that no one would be able to calm down and rest today. Everyone disperse. She waved her hand. After everyone dispersed, she looked at Song Qing and said, Go out and tell the demonic cultivators outside to not act recklessly tomorrow. And I got it. Song Qing responded and nodded his head before walking out. Feng Jiu handed over some matters to Old Gu and the others before returning to the courtyard. She was going to have a good sleep today and wait for tomorrow to come. The demonic cultivators outside had already rushed to the Phoenix City after seeing the 12 signal flares. Now that they heard Unfettered Sovereign's words, they were all extremely excited. We understand. Please inform the Phoenix Master that we will act according to her instructions tomorrow. We won't act recklessly. The few immortal venerables replied immediately. Yes. After Song Qing complied, He had them inform the devil cultivators below before turning around and returning to Phoenix City. On this day, it could be said that outside of Fengjiu, everyone was so excited that they couldn't even close their eyes to rest. Early in the morning, everyone stared at the sky above Feng City. Fengjiu, on the other hand, only woke up around 7 in the morning. After washing her face and rinsing her mouth, she directly soared into the sky. The people below, whether they were inside or outside Phoenix City, only saw a red figure soar into the sky. Her dazzling red clothes fluttered in the air. It was extremely beautiful. Fengjiu's body was filled with spiritual energy that could be seen with the naked eye. When the immortal emperor's aura was released from her body, the people below couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air and couldn't help but cry out in alarm. Chapter 23:37. Could it be that she has always been an immortal emperor? Is she just suppressing her strength? Maybe she has always been an immortal emperor. Otherwise, how could she make unfettered reverence submit to her so easily? How could she seize the Phoenix City and kill an immortal venerable expert by herself? Only an immortal emperor expert can do that. No wonder she said she could break the formation here. She has the strength of an immortal emperor, an ancient contracted beast, and all kinds of abilities. No wonder she said she could break the formation here and let us leave this place. While the crowd was discussing, Fengjiu, who was in midair, formed a complicated and ancient seal with both hands. Along with the release of her immortal emperor Qi, she pointed the seal in her hand towards the sky. An ancient pressure accompanied by the strength of an immortal emperor and her natal heavenly fire shot out. With a whoosh, the seal shot toward the sky. Boom! Boom! In the middle of the day, the sky suddenly changed color. The sound of thunder rumbled unceasingly. Bolts of lightning appeared in the sky and struck the ground with a kacha sound. The people below were frightened and cried out in alarm. They all looked at the scene in the sky in shock. Boom! Fengjiu, who was standing in midair, looked up and saw the dark clouds above her head. The sound of thunder came from above her head, and the bolts of lightning brushed past her body. A powerful pressure pressed down on her like Mount Tai. It was as if it was angry that she was trying to break the barrier here. If she hadn't reached the peak of the immortal emperor realm, she wouldn't have been able to withstand such a powerful pressure alone. However, even if the 4 celestial emperors' auras were to press down on her, she would still be able to withstand it. Today, even if the 4 great immortal emperors appeared, she was determined to break the spirit formation and restriction here. Boom! Bang! Thunderclaps continued to ring out, while wild gales rose like the roar of a ferocious beast. It was as though they wanted to blow Fengjiu away. However, the light that protected her tightly like a protective barrier around her caused the wind blades to be unable to touch her, and the lightning bolts to be unable to harm her in the slightest. Break for me! A cold shout came from the sky, and a flame suddenly sprang up. When the flame sprang up, it quickly connected with the ancient and complicated mark that she had launched earlier. Accompanied by a powerful pressure and the impact of spiritual energy, in that instant, there was a cracking sound coming from the horizon, followed by the sound of an explosion. Bang! When the loud explosion sounded out, for powerful auras of spirit energy spread out and flew to the 4 corners of the sky before disappearing. When the crowd below saw the scene in the sky, they were stunned for a moment before they burst out in excited voices. It's broken! It's broken! He has broken the restriction. Because of the visual impact of that scene, all the blood in their bodies rushed to their minds, and they felt their blood boiling. When they saw the restriction being broken, they knew that as long as they could break the last 2 barriers in the Grand Formation, they would be able to leave this place. Chapter 23:38. A strange look flashed across the eyes of the 4 of them. In just an instant, their spirits left their bodies and flew towards the floating place despite being in closed-door cultivation. After Fengjiu broke through the first restriction, she sensed that the pressure in the sky had vanished. She immediately soared into the sky with the intention of breaking through the grand formation. However, right at this moment, for dignified voices that were accompanied by fierce auras resounded from the sky. Who are you? The voices were dignified and contained a sharp aura. A powerful pressure came from the four voices, causing her mind to tremble and a trace of blood to flow out from her mouth. When the four voices came out at the same time, the people below all coughed up blood and knelt down. They couldn't even straighten their bodies. At this moment, they realized that the strength of the four immortal emperors was far beyond their imagination. Perhaps, after so many years, the strength of the four immortal emperors had surpassed the immortal emperor level. Wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth, Fengjiu looked at the four figures in the sky. Her eyes flashed, and she said in a neither haughty nor humble tone, "Fengjiu greets the four emperors." The four emperors' wise and sharp gazes fell on Fengjiu. Even though she was dressed as a man, with their cultivation, they could tell at a glance that she was a woman. Moreover, she was a genius with a profound spirit body. Their gazes swept across her body. They saw her beautiful appearance and noble temperament. There was no aura of darkness around her, nor was there any murderous aura around her. On the contrary, there was a faint holy light around her body. The four emperors were slightly surprised. "Fengjiu, why did you enter the land of exile? Why did you break the boundary formation that we four emperors set up?" One of them asked with a dignified and intimidating voice. His gaze was fixed on Fengjiu's clear eyes, as if he wanted to see through her. This was the land of exile. Most of the people who came here were evil people. Even if one or two were occasionally sent here, they should not be people like her. Moreover, this place was jointly set up by the four imperial emperors. A little girl like her was actually able to break through their restrictions. This truly shocked them and made them feel that it was inconceivable. They couldn't help but guess her origins. "I was sent here by a gate of darkness opened by a devil cultivator. I've been here for almost a year. After breaking the boundary formation of the four emperors, I naturally wanted to leave this place," she said slowly as she looked at the four figures. Her soul had left her body. What kind of cultivation was needed to do this? As she had guessed, the four of them were no longer immortal emperors. When they heard that she had entered through the gate of darkness, their eyes flashed. So that was the case. They did not expect that there would be someone among the devil cultivators who could open the teleportation formation in the land of darkness. After a slight pause, one of them opened his mouth and said, "This is the place where evil people are imprisoned. If the barrier here is broken, they will definitely return to the continent to do evil. Since you have mistakenly entered this place, we can send you away." Hearing this, the people below were shocked. They were kneeling on the ground and could not stand up. They could not even raise their heads to look at the sky. Thus, at this moment, they could not help but feel despair. Chapter 23:39. At this moment, they couldn't help but feel the despair of being abandoned. They felt that the Phoenix Master wouldn't take them away because the four emperors didn't plan on letting them leave at all. However, although the people in Phoenix City heard her words, they didn't panic. Instead, they waited quietly. They believed that their master would definitely take them away because they knew that their master wasn't the kind of person who only cared about themselves. Fengjiu, who was standing in the air, shook her head when she heard the four emperors' words. When the four emperors saw that she actually shook her head, they couldn't help but be surprised. "You don't want to leave?" Just now, she said that she opened the barrier to leave. Why did she shake her head when they wanted to send her away? "No," Fengjiu said as she looked at the four emperors. "I want to leave, but I also want everyone here to leave. No matter if it's devil cultivators or cultivators, I've promised them that I'll let them leave. Moreover, I'm also planning to make this floating land my territory." Hearing this, the devil cultivators below couldn't help but inwardly suck in a breath of cold air. This Phoenix Master's guts are really too big. She actually dared to say such words to the four emperors? Wasn't she afraid that the four emperors would kill her? Moreover, she actually said that she wanted to make this place her territory and make it hers. Would the four emperors be willing? If this place didn't have those restrictions and barriers, it would be a good place with rich spiritual energy. Would the four emperors be willing to give such a place to her? Only the people in Phoenix City couldn't help but smile when they heard Fengjiu's words. This was their master, domineering enough. When the four emperors heard Fengjiu's words, they couldn't help but look at each other with a strange expression. Not only do you want to take everyone here away, but you also want us to give this place to you? It's not a gift, it's compensation. As Fengjiu spoke, he looked at the four of them and said, I was trapped in the spirit formation set up by the four monarchs for no reason at all for a year. Don't tell me that the four monarchs don't think that they should compensate me? Hearing this, the four of them were stunned. They stared at Fengjiu for a long time, not knowing what they were thinking. After a long time, one of them slowly said, It's not impossible to give it to you, but if you take the devil cultivators and those people who are full of killing intent out with you, how can you guarantee that they won't cause harm everywhere after they leave? Hearing this, Fengjiu curled his lips into a smile. Their souls are my hands. As long as I have a thought, they will die without a doubt. Moreover, other than devil cultivators and heretic cultivators, most of them have pledged their allegiance to me and become my subordinates. With my ability, I believe that I can control them well. The four of them looked at each other and nodded slightly. Since that's the case, we'll do as you wish. You should remember this favor as well. The four of them looked at her meaningfully. Remember this favor? Fengjiu's eyes flashed. What did the four monarchs mean? Could it be that they wanted to ask her to repay this favor? As monarchs who guarded the four directions, what favor did they need from her? If you want to help someone, you should help them to the end. You don't need to waste your energy to break this spirit formation. We'll help you remove it, but you must remember today's words. Don't let those devil cultivators leave here and cause harm everywhere. Chapter 2340. After the four monarchs removed the spirit formation, they disappeared into the sky. Following their departure, the powerful oppressive might that enveloped the sky also disappeared. Only then did the crowd below exhale a sigh of relief and stand up one after another. Have the barrier and formation been removed? Are they really removed? Someone murmured, his face full of disbelief. I'll go up and take a look. A cultivator could not hold back the excitement in his heart. Ignoring his injuries, he immediately gathered his chi and flew up into the sky. At this moment, Fengjiu was looking at the surroundings of the floating land. Her line of sight, which was originally covered by white clouds, had begun to appear in front of her eyes. Beyond the blue sky and white clouds, she could see some forests and some towns below. As expected, she said softly. A smile appeared on her beautiful face. This place wasn't anywhere else. It was still in the upper reaches of the continent. However, this floating place was in the sky above the clouds. There were barriers and formations set up around it. The people below couldn't see this place and couldn't enter. The people inside couldn't get out and couldn't see the outside either. Ha 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 ha. It's really been removed. It's really been removed. When the demonic cultivators who rose into the sky saw the scene outside, they were all extremely excited and laughed out loud. However, they did not forget who had given them the chance to see the outside world again. They did not forget who had given them the chance to leave this place. As a result, the 2,000 demonic cultivators, regardless of whether they were in the air or in the forest below, all bowed respectfully and gratefully to Fengjiu. Thank you, Phoenix Master. Excited voices mixed with unconcealable joy came from the mouths of the demonic cultivators. Their gazes all landed on the dazzling red figure. Looking at her beautiful face, it was as if they wanted to remember her face forever in their hearts. Fengjiu glanced at them, and a voice that contained pressure slowly came out of her mouth. All right, since the barrier and formation have been removed, you can all leave as well. However, when you're outside, remember what I said. Yes, we'll take our leave. Everyone responded in unison. Some directly soared into the sky. Some laughed loudly while riding on their swords, and some took out their magic tools and flew out. Not long after, those people all left, leaving only the people in Phoenix City. At this moment, Fengjiu set up a new spirit formation, isolating the entire floating area. What was different was that she had left a spirit formation entrance in the spirit formation. After the barrier was set up, she returned to the Phoenix City from Adair. Looking at everyone, she slowly said, "Now that all the devil cultivators have left, I will set up a new barrier here. In the future, no one can enter without permission. And here, I need a few people to guard it. Who among you is willing to stay and guard it?" "Master, we are all willing to stay and guard." One by one, the Phoenix City cultivators said, "Yes, Master. As long as you give the order, we are willing to stay and guard." Seeing this, Fengjiu nodded and smiled. "How about this? You guys have been trapped here for many years, so it's a bit unreasonable to just let you guys stay here. Just take turns to guard this place." Chapter 23:41. Old Gu, who was at the side, heard this and said, "Master, how about this? Our Gu clan has already been destroyed outside. Now that the barrier here has been broken, if we need anything, we can go out and buy some things. So there's no need for others to take turns guarding this place. Just leave it to my Gu clan to guard." Hearing this, Fengjiu glanced at Old Gu and nodded. "All right, then I'll leave this place to you. You can choose a place to settle down here." "Thank you, Master." Everyone from the Gu clan bowed respectfully and said. Fengjiu looked at everyone and said, "Today, the barrier has been broken. You can go wherever you want. As long as I have a use for you in the future, once the signal is sent, no matter where you are or what you're doing, you have to come to the place where I gather you." Hearing this, everyone was slightly startled. "Master, you want us to go back on our own?" Although they also wanted to go outside, they didn't expect that their master would let them do whatever they wanted. Moreover, he didn't restrict their movements. "Is this strange?" Fengjiu glanced at everyone and said, "Don't tell me I have to feed such a large group of people like you? You won't starve to death outside. You don't have to follow me all the time. I said that as long as I need you, you can just appear when I need you." Hearing this, everyone was stunned. After a long while, someone asked, "Master, if we want to find you, where should we go to find you?" After staying here for so long, they didn't know what to do if they suddenly went out. "You can find me in 100 River City's Heavenly Pill Building," Fengjiu said and waved to everyone. "Everyone disperse. Those who want to leave can leave now." Seeing this, everyone looked at each other but didn't move. Instead, they hesitated and asked, "Master, can we also stay here? Settle down here?" The barrier here was also gone, so they could leave whenever they wanted. If they could settle down here, it would be better than going outside. Fengjiu looked at them strangely. "You don't want to leave this place?" Everyone grinned and said, "Master, the restriction here has been lifted. If we need anything, we can go down to the town and walk around. So it doesn't matter if we leave or not. Besides, if we are all here, if Master wants to find us, we will be able to come at your call. Isn't that better?" Hearing this, Fengjiu chuckled. All right, as you wish. However, it's fine if you want to stay here. However, I still plan to reorganize this place. You can start making arrangements when the time comes. I'll get Old Gu to take care of the details." "All right." Everyone immediately laughed excitedly. Someone said, "Master, we haven't been to the town for a long time. Let's go down and take a look today. We'll buy some things to celebrate." "Wait a moment." Fengjiu glanced at them and waved her hand. Several boxes appeared in front of her. "There are some gold, silver, and jewels inside. Divide them among yourselves and keep some with you. You are my subordinates and also the guardians of this floating land. I still need you to contribute to the transformation here." Chapter 23:42. Seeing this, Fengjiu said to Old Gu, "Then put these away. In the future, if you want to build some shops and courtyards here, the money will come from here." "Yes," Old Gu responded and put away the 4 chests of treasures. "Those who want to go out can go out. Disperse." Fengjiu waved his hand, then looked at Song Qing and asked, "What about you? What are your plans?" "I'm also going out for a walk and see if my enemy is still alive." Song Qing narrowed his eyes and stared at the sky as he spoke. Hearing this, Fengjiu nodded, "Then be careful." "Yes, he replied. After cupping his hands in salute, he left as well. Old Gu, come with me, she said to Old Gu and the others, and led them to the courtyard. Master, are you also leaving? In the courtyard, Old Gu looked at Fengjiu and asked. Yes, I've been trapped here for a year. I don't know how the situation is over at the Heavenly Pill building, so I'm going back. Today, I'm going to explain some things to you and give each of you something. Hearing this, Old Gu and the others were slightly startled. Their gazes fell on her. Master, please instruct us. Fengjiu looked at them deeply. After explaining some things to them in detail, she gave each of them a medicinal pill that could help them advance. Finally, she said, your strength is only one step away. I'll help you and let you enter the immortal venerable level. In the future, it will be more convenient to do things here. Everyone looked at the medicinal pills in their hands and were a little stunned. Among them, Gu Xiang said in a daze, but Master, with our strength, ordinary medicinal pills won't have any effect on us. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled slightly. You also said that it's an ordinary medicinal pill, but mine is not an ordinary medicinal pill. Take it, find a time, and let Old Gu try it first. The others will come one by one. If there's anything you can't deal with, then come to the Heavenly Pill building in Hundred River City to find me. Yes, they responded and carefully put away the medicinal pills. After bowing, they left the courtyard. Fengjiu was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, she looked at the sky above her. Since this place was floating, it could naturally be moved. She thought that it would be better to move this floating place to the clouds in the sky of Hundred River City. This way, it would be more convenient to go in and out. Her heart moved. She also moved. She lifted it up into the air and used her powerful spiritual power to move it in the direction of Hundred River City. 2 days later, in the depths of the clouds above Hundred River City, there was a floating place that no one could see. No one knew that this place was rich in spirit qi and was suitable for cultivation. After informing the people in Phoenix City, Fengjiu left. She stood at the edge of the barrier of the floating land and looked down. After passing through the clouds, she could only see the city that was as small as an ant. Thus, she took out the Aurora teleportation scroll from the space. With a thought, she disappeared from the boundary and headed toward the Feng Manor in Hundred River City. Chapter 2343. Open the door. Hurry and open the door. Do you think it'll be fine if you hide inside? Come out, and explain everything to us. If you don't come out, we're going to break down the door. Hearing the words outside, Lung Shuang could not help but step forward. However, his shoulder was pressed down by someone to the side. Don't be impulsive. Du Fan pressed down on his shoulder and spoke calmly. He looked outside and said, these people come here every day to make a ruckus. Even if we go out, it won't help. It will only make things worse. Are we just going to let them do as they please? Lung Shuang asked coldly. He turned around and glanced at Du Fan. You should know that we can't solve the problem at the moment. Du Fan sighed and said, I just hope that they can find Guan Shilin as soon as possible and bring him back for questioning. Otherwise, these days will continue. Hearing this, Lung Shuang pursed his lips. Even the phone guards and Hui Lang can't find his whereabouts. Who else can? Du Fan was silent for a while. He did not know what to say. He only said, right now, all the powers are targeting us because of this matter. If the Heavenly Pill building did not have Mo Chen's protection, it would not have been able to withstand the pressure from all sides and would have closed down. Right now, Master's not here. The only thing we can do is wait. Hearing him mention Master, Lung Shuang's eyes filled with worry. We haven't heard from Master for a year. We don't know where he is now. Is he safe? Just as they said this, they suddenly saw Lao Bai, who had been guarding the Feng Manor the entire time, suddenly run over. Like the wind, he flew all the way to the inner courtyard. Faintly, the two could hear him speak excitedly. Master, it's Master. I smell Master's scent. It must be Master who has returned. Hearing this, the two were startled. They instinctively followed him to the backyard. When they reached the backyard, their figures suddenly stopped. They stared blankly at the red figure that had appeared in the courtyard. Seeing his master whom he had not seen for a year, Lung Shuang's eyes could not help but fill with tears. Master, roar. A year ago, when Fengjiu left, the little thing was still a baby tiger. Now it had grown strong. At this time, it was letting out a cry and rubbing against Fengjiu's body. From time to time, it stuck out its tongue to lick Fengjiu to show its excitement. All right, stop licking. Your saliva is all over my face, Fengjiu said with a look of disdain, but his lips curled up into a smile. She rubbed the head of the white tiger that had already grown strong and said, "Good boy, go play at the side." As soon as she finished speaking, Lao Bai came over. Master, you've been missing for a year. We all miss you." Lao Bai also wanted to kiss her, but was directly avoided by her. He could not help but reveal an aggrieved and resentful gaze as he looked at her. "Master, you are biased." "All right, stop fooling around." Fengjiu patted Lao Bai's head before looking at Lung Shuang and Du Fan. "Master, you finally returned." When Du Fan saw her, he let out a sigh of relief. He had finally seen his master return safely. No matter what, being able to see his master return safely was enough for him to feel at ease. "Yes, I've returned." Chapter 2344. Master. Lung Shuang wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and said, Lung Shuang is very happy to finally see Master return safely. "Master, it's good that you're back. It's good that you're back." "Master, if you didn't come back, things would have been troublesome." Lao Bai interrupted from aside. Hearing this, Fengjiu raised his eyebrows and asked, "What kind of trouble?" Lao Bai was about to speak when he heard Du Fan say, "Master, you just came back. Do you want to rest first? Those things can't be explained in a short time. Why don't I ask someone to prepare some food for you, and we can talk after you rest?" "There's no need for that. What happened while I was away? You can tell me." She walked to the table in the courtyard and sat down, looking as if she wanted to hear more about it. Seeing this, Du Fan said, "It's like this. When Duan Yi came to the Heavenly Pill building and told us about Master, everyone was busy trying to think of a way. Later, young Master Mo Chun said that it was a disaster, but also a blessing. He told us not to worry. Since young Master Mo Chun said so, we thought that before Master came back, we would guard the Heavenly Pill building and take care of the mansion. It was very peaceful during that time, and nothing happened. Until one day, Guan Shilin received a letter and said that he would go out. But he never came back. Even the Phoenix Guard we sent out couldn't find any news about him. A few months later, a piece of news came out." He paused slightly. "Go on." As Fengjiu spoke, he took out a wine gourd from the space and drank some wine. His eyes were deep, as if he was thinking about something. "The news came that for some reason, Guan Shilin attacked the people of the four immortal sects and killed people with high status in their sections. In addition, he also attacked people from some big families. This caused public anger, and everyone said that they wanted to suppress him." He glanced at Master and saw that her expression was the same. He couldn't tell what she was thinking, so he continued, "We all felt that something was wrong. Guan Shilin wouldn't do such a thing. However, we've been looking for him for nearly a year and haven't found his whereabouts. But we kept hearing that he was killing people everywhere." Hearing this, Fengjiu's eyes moved slightly and asked, "Where is Mo Chun now?" "He's been at the Heavenly Pill building recently, because many forces took the opportunity to attack on us. Fortunately, we have young Master Mo Chun's protection, otherwise those people would have attacked the Heavenly Pill building long ago." "How unexpected." She took a sip of wine and stood up. She gently shook the wine gourd in her hand and said, "I thought that no one would dare to touch the Heavenly Pill building now. I didn't expect that after I left for a year, everything would be in chaos. I'm ashamed." Du Fan lowered his head. "I've been hearing people knocking on the door and shouting outside since just now." "Who are those people?" she asked and took another sip of wine. "They're people from a few small forces. They also said that some of them were killed by Guan Shilin. Recently, whenever someone was killed, they all claimed that it was Guan Shilin who said that. They either came to ask for compensation or to settle accounts with Guan Shilin," Du Fan said with his head lowered. "You're just going to let them do as they please?" Fengjiu glanced at Du Fan. We didn't find Guan Shilin. If we attack them, I'm afraid that things will get worse, so he knew that it wasn't appropriate to deal with this matter, but there was no other way. Chapter 23:45. Seeing this, Du Fan opened his mouth and quietly said, "Master, there's another reason why they dare to come here." Feng Jiu, who was in front, heard this and stopped walking. She turned around and glanced at him. "Speak." "It's because news came from outside that Master was killed outside." Adding on the fact that Master has not shown his face for a year, they dare to be so fearless. Hearing this, Feng Jiu slowly walked forward. Her voice was neither fast nor slow. "Fearless? I actually want to see just how fearless they are." She walked forward with Lung Shuang and Du Fan following behind her. The closer they got to the front, the louder the sounds of the door slapping became. Arriving at the door, she stopped and gestured to Du Fan. Du Fan walked forward and opened the door. When the door was opened, the eyes of the people outside lit up. Just as they were about to charge in, they saw a red figure slowly walk out. When they clearly saw the person's appearance, they were given a fright. Ghost Dr. Feng Jiu. They suddenly retreated a few steps, and each of their faces turned pale. Wasn't it said that Ghost Dr. Feng Jiu had been killed outside? Why did he come out here? Feng Jiu walked out with her hands behind her back. Her clear eyes were filled with coldness as she glanced at them. She then looked around, and her gaze fell on a large door that had been slapped. Her cold voice carried a chilling aura as it came out of her mouth. "Guards!" With her clear shout, 20 guards came out of the Feng Manor. The 20 people looked at Feng Jiu with shining eyes and saluted without any prior agreement. "Greetings, Master!" The 30 or so people surrounding the Feng Manor's entrance saw this and could not help but be shocked. They retreated even further. At the same time, they stared vigilantly at Feng Jiu's group. One of them asked, "What do you want to do?" "What?" Feng Jiu curled her lips, revealing a cold and evil smile. However, this smile did not reach her eyes. It would have been fine if she did not smile, but this smile made the hearts of the 30-plus people sink, faintly feeling uneasy. Compensation. When the 30 or so people heard the word compensation, they couldn't help but be startled. Compensation? Compensate for what? Forgive them for not being able to react. Compensate for what? Feng Jiu sneered and glanced at them. Could it be that you believe that my Feng Manor's gates are something that anyone can come and knock on as they please? Who can kick you just because they want to? Hearing this, everyone finally understood why she had glanced at the door when she came out. It turned out that she had this idea. Ghost Doctor Guan Shilin killed a member of our family. How are we going to settle this debt? Since you're here, why don't you tell us how we're going to settle this matter? One of them shouted in a deep voice and stood out in an imposing manner. He killed one of your people? Feng Jiu's cold gaze swept over them and landed on that person, saying, "If he really did kill one of your people, I will naturally take care of this matter. Right now, his whereabouts are unknown, and the truth of the matter is still unknown. What sort of explanation do you want me to give you?" She lightly snorted. "I'll remember this debt for now. Right now, it will be best for you to settle the matter of compensating the gate. Otherwise, not a single one of you should think of leaving alive today." Chapter 23:46. It's just a door. How much would it cost if I made you a new one? One of them said nonchalantly. Hearing this, Feng Jiu smirked. It's not much. You 3 families will pay me 1,000,000 gold coins each. Hearing this, those people gasped. You're robbing us? 1,000,000 gold coins each? Even if your door is inlaid with gold, it doesn't have to be that expensive. You're all wrong. My 1,000,000 gold coins really aren't enough to overcharge you. Feng Jiu walked slowly and glanced at them. This door isn't worth much, but I, Feng Jiu, am worth a lot of money. You've already offended me by kicking and slamming my door. Do you know what kind of price you have to pay to offend a strong person? As soon as she finished speaking, a powerful aura of suppression instantly swept out from her body and enveloped the 30 over people. The 30 over people fell to their knees with a thud. Their faces were drained of all blood, and were filled with fear. Offending a strong person? I could take your lives. Her cold voice was sharp. She stopped in her tracks and glanced at them. So this 1,000,000 gold coins isn't just for this door. It's for your lives. If you think it's too much and can't bear to pay, then that's fine. I just need to give the order and I can let you bleed on the spot. If you die, then I'll forget about this 1,000,000 gold coins. Her voice drifted out softly, but it was like a cold December wind that blew into their hearts. They couldn't help but shiver. At this moment, they were filled with regret. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have come here to kick and cause a ruckus. Now that Fengjiu had appeared, they had gone for wool and come home shorn. 1,000,000 gold coins was a huge sum of money to them. Du Fan, collect the money from them. If they don't hand it over to you before sunset, then there's no need for these people to live. Fengjiu looked at Du Fan and instructed. Yes, Du Fan replied. Lung Shuang, come with me, she said and walked forward. Lung Shuang followed her quietly. Arriving at the Heavenly Dam building, when Lung Hua and the others saw Fengjiu, they all came out to greet him in surprise. Master! In the attic, the fire phoenix transformed into a little bird and flew onto Fengjiu's shoulder. Master, you're back. I'm back, she said softly and looked at everyone with a smile. I've made all of you worry this year. Master, it's fine as long as you're back. Seeing you come back safely, we're relieved. Yes, mistress, it's good that you're back. Everyone surrounded her with smiles on their faces. At this moment, a white figure walked out from a corner on the first floor. When she saw Fengjiu surrounded by people, she couldn't help but lower her head. After hesitating for a moment, she walked over. Bai Qingcheng greets master. She bowed respectfully to Fengjiu. When he saw her, Fengjiu's eyes moved slightly. He glanced at her and said, Raise your head. Yes, she replied, and raised her head to look at him. Fengjiu only took one look and knew that Bai Qingcheng had restrained her sharpness. She no longer had the arrogance she had when he first met her in the Sky Sun sect. She was much more pleasing to the eye. Chapter 2347. Yes, Bai Qingcheng replied, then left. Mo-chan is in the backyard. She asked, looking at Lung Hua. Mo-chan is in the backyard. As Lung Hua spoke, he saw his master walking towards the backyard. He glanced at his sister, then followed his master to the backyard. Mo-chan had already heard the commotion in front of him, so he knew that she had returned. Thus, he took out some wine, poured 2 cups, and waited until he saw the red figure slowly walking towards him. When he saw the aura on her body, his eyes flickered, and he asked curiously, What's your current level of strength? Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled slightly. The peak of the immortal emperor realm. Lung Hua and Lung Shuang, who were behind him, were surprised when they heard this. Their master was already at the peak of the immortal emperor realm. It had only been a year, but she had already broken through to the peak of the immortal emperor realm. It was indeed unbelievable. No wonder Mo-chan said that this was a disaster for her, but also a blessing for her. The higher one's cultivation level, the harder it was to advance. There were almost no immortal emperors in the upper reaches. However, she had only been missing for a year, and her strength had already broken through to the peak of the immortal emperor realm. How could this not be surprising? In that case, I have to congratulate you. Mo-chan chuckled, then gestured to her sit. Fengjiu sat down at the table, then said to Lung Hua behind him, Get someone to prepare 2 side dishes. Yes, Lung Hua replied, then left. I think they've told you about your brother, right? Mo-chan drank his wine, then looked at her and asked. Yes, I found out as soon as I came back. She replied, then took a sip of her wine. Then what do you think? What do you plan to do? He gently swirled the wine in his hand, looking at the slightly swaying wine as he asked softly. What else can I do? Right now, the most important thing is to find him. Moreover, I don't think my brother would do such a thing. Besides, he has no reason to do so. Mo-chan nodded slightly and said, That's right. That's why I'm thinking that this person might be an imposter. He's using his name to make enemies everywhere. His goal is to make all the forces rise up against you. There's also another possibility. If this person isn't an imposter and is really Guanxilin, then it's very likely that he's being controlled by someone. Hearing this, Fengjiu's eyes flashed. That's about the same as what I thought. I think that might be the case too. She paused for a moment before continuing. If that person is an imposter, then my brother should be in danger and unable to escape. Otherwise, it is impossible for him not to come back after hearing what is happening outside. Right now, I am more worried about his safety. Unfortunately, we still haven't found out who did it. We can't do anything about it. Emo-chan sighed softly and said, "We've mobilized all the people we can. Even the people from the black market are helping to investigate, but there's still no news." "You don't have any suspects or forces?" Fengjiu glanced at him. "After investigating for so long, you don't have any leads?" Hearing this, Emo-chan chuckled. "I knew you would ask this." Chapter 2348. Fengjiu's hand paused. He seemed to have thought of something and continued drinking. Not long after, waiter Yang and Bai Qingsheng came in with the dishes. "Big sister Feng, I heard from them that you're back as soon as I arrived. Where have you been this year?" Waiter Yang asked with a smile after serving the dishes. Fengjiu looked at her and was slightly surprised. He didn't answer, but asked, "Waiter, why have you lost so much weight?" The originally plump little girl had now become very slender. Her originally pretty face had become even more distinct after losing weight. Her pair of bright big eyes seemed to be able to speak. They were watery and overflowing with spiritual energy, making people's eyes light up at a glance. Hearing Fengjiu's words, waiter Yang smiled embarrassedly. "I didn't eat that much. Also, I practiced a set of martial arts every morning and night. That's why I slowly lost weight." "Yes, it doesn't matter if you're fat or thin. As long as you're healthy," Fengjiu said with a smile. "I went to a place to cultivate this year. Didn't I just come back? I didn't expect so many things to happen in the year that I wasn't around." "Big sister Feng, don't worry too much. Big brother Guan will definitely be found," waiter Yang comforted. "Yes." She nodded with a smile. "Then we'll go out first." After saying that, she left with Bai Qingsheng. Emo-chun and Fengjiu chatted in the courtyard. Outside, because of Fengjiu's return, the news gradually spread 2 days later. "What? He's back." When the Temple of Darkness Lord, Ishiran, heard the news that Fengjiu had returned to the Heavenly Pill House, he stood up from behind his desk with a whoosh. His expression was filled with surprise. "He's really back? Is the news true?" At this moment, there was a trace of nervousness in his heart, a trace of nervousness and excitement that even he himself did not know why. The elder saw that his master's expression was pleasantly surprised and was slightly startled. He then nodded his head. "Yes, master. Outside, there are rumors that ghost Dr. Fengjiu has returned. I heard that at the time. 3 small families went to the Feng Manor to cause trouble. When the Feng Manor's gates opened, ghost Dr. Fengjiu came out wearing red clothes. As soon as she appeared, she easily dealt with those small families who were causing trouble. Furthermore, those small families had to pay a compensation of 1 million gold coins each. Because of this, the news of her return spread quickly. This old servant immediately rushed over to report to Master as soon as I received the news. "Good, very good. You did well." A joyful smile appeared on his face. "Since she's back, then this highness will go and meet her." As he spoke, he picked up the tea on the table and drank. Hearing this, the elder hesitated for a moment. Seeing his master's face filled with anticipation and excitement, he quietly asked, "Master, have you fallen in love with that ghost, Dr. Fengjiu?" He had lived for a long time and was able to see through people and things. His master's attitude towards that ghost, Dr. Fengjiu, seemed to have changed ever since the main hall was destroyed. Speaking of which, it was strange. Their Temple of Darkness main hall had been destroyed by Fengjiu. At that time, his master had even been injured. Could it be that he did not hate her to the core? Why was he captivated by her instead? Chapter 2349. Hearing his master's words, the elder was startled. "Oh, that means Master doesn't like that ghost, Dr. Fengjiu?" That's impossible, he said resolutely and decisively. The elder clearly sighed in relief. That's good, that's good. This old servant thought that Master knew it was the ghost doctor who saved you back then, so you turned your gratitude into adoration. When Ishiran heard this, he felt a few black lines cross his forehead. What kind of messy logic was this? Master, actually, it's right that you didn't like her. If you really did like the ghost doctor, then it's destined to be a one-sided love. The ghost doctor won't like you. The elder started nagging again, ignoring Ishiran's ashen face as he said meaningfully, "We also know quite a bit about ghost Dr. Fengjiu. She has many outstanding men by her side, especially that fiancé of hers called Xinyuan Mo's. He's definitely a ruthless character." He paused, then continued. Moreover, it said that although the two of them are often separated, their relationship is very deep. Even if Master wants to forcefully stick a foot in, you won't be able to. Therefore, before Master's heart is moved, this old servant wants to advise Master to avoid walking down a path of no return. Ishiran's face completely darkened. He coldly swept a glance at the chattering elder. What do you mean by walking down a path of no return? Didn't I just say it? I don't like that woman. Moreover, am I your master that bad? What do you mean she won't like me? What kind of thing is Xinyuan Mo's? No matter how outstanding he is, can he be more outstanding than me? The elder's lips moved, wanting to say something, but he was afraid of hurting Ishiran. In the end, he only sighed. In my heart, Master is the most formidable and outstanding. No one can compare to Master. However, he had to admit that at Fengjiu's side, whether it was that Xinyuan Mo's, the Tianji elder's disciple Mo Chun, her foster brother Guan Shilin, or the four handsome youths from the four great immortal sects, each and every one of them was extraordinary. Speaking of which, it was strange. What exactly was going on? Those people gathered around her one by one, protecting her and protecting her. Thinking of this, he thought of a piece of news that had recently spread. He hesitated for a moment, looked at his master, and said, "Master, it said that this ghost Dr. Fengjiu is the star of the phoenix? What does Master think of this matter?" Hearing this, Ishiran frowned and fell silent for a moment. Feng Xing is a person of great fortune. The people by her side will more or less receive some benefits. Moreover, it's best not to make an enemy of such a person. Hearing this, the old man secretly glanced at his master and thought to himself, "Why do I feel that Master's last sentence is what he wants to say? Don't make enemies? So that's what friends are." "Master, the ghost doctor still doesn't know that you're the Lord of the Temple of Darkness, right?" the old man suddenly asked. Ishiran's expression shifted before he smiled. "I don't know. So what?" He patted his robes and said, "All right, I'll leave the rest to you. I should also go to the Heavenly Pill building to take a look." He had waited for her for a year. She was finally back. "Master, master," the old man shouted, only to see him stride out, disappearing from sight in a short while. Chapter 2350. Another 2 days passed. Early in the morning, after hearing that Fengjiu had returned, Han Yuanzi hurried to the Heavenly Pill building. As soon as he entered, he pulled Leng Hua aside and asked, "I heard that Fengjiu is back. Where is she? I have something urgent to discuss with her." "Senior, my master is refining pills in the alchemy room. If there's anything urgent, we'll have to wait for her to come out. Why don't you sit here and rest for a while? Have a cup of tea first. I'll take you to her as soon as she comes out." Leng Hua smiled warmly and led him to a table for guests to rest. Hearing this, Han Yuanzi frowned. After sitting down, he said, "Didn't I hear that she's only been back for a few days? Why is she working so hard to refine pills? I know that the Heavenly Pill building has a lot of things going on recently. How can she stay in the alchemy room? She's been dealing with a lot of things since she came back. She started refining pills yesterday evening and didn't come out of the alchemy room all night. I think she'll come out today," Leng Hua said, and asked someone to serve tea to Han Yuanzi. "Senior Han Yuanzi, please have some tea." Bai Qingsheng served tea and placed it on the table in front of Han Yuanzi. Just as she was about to leave, she heard his surprised voice. You're that Bai from the Heavenly Sun sect. What's your name again? Hun Yuanzi knocked his head and thought for a while, but he couldn't remember the name. Senior, I'm Bai Qingsheng. She lowered her eyes and said respectfully, Oh, you're called Bai Qingsheng? Come, raise your head and let this old man take a look. Hun Yuanzi said with a smile. Hearing this, Bai Qingsheng hesitated for a moment. At this moment, she heard Leng Hua's voice. Didn't you hear what Senior Hun Yuanzi said? Raise your head and let him take a look. Leng Hua's voice was indifferent. It was very different from his usual gentle voice. He knew that Bai Qingsheng had once made things difficult for his master and even wanted to scheme against him. How could he be nice to her? Yes. Bai Qingsheng's face was slightly pale. Only then did she raise her head. However, at this moment, he only felt humiliated and embarrassed. She was originally a proud daughter of the heavens, insufferably arrogant. But now, she had fallen to such a state. She had to raise her head when she was told to do so. Only she, who had personally experienced this kind of humiliation, could understand how embarrassing it was. He, she does look pretty good and is worthy of the name Qingsheng. However, she is still a far cry from Little Feng. Hun Yuan sipped his tea as he commented on Bai Qingsheng. She calmed herself down and said in a calm tone, Qingsheng is only a servant by master's side. Naturally, she cannot be compared to master. Let this old man tell you. Don't put down your pride as the Bai family's young lady and the Sky Sun sex prodigy. It's your fortune to be able to stay by Phone Girl's side. She'll never mistreat anyone who catches her eye. Work hard. Hearing this, Bai Qingsheng couldn't help but glance at Hun Yuan. Her heart warmed and she smiled. Yes, thank you for your advice, Senior. I will definitely not disappoint Master. Hearing this, Leng Hua couldn't help but glance at her. Seeing that she didn't seem to be faking it, his eyes flashed, and he said, You may leave. Yes. She bowed and left. Chapter 2351. Seeing this, Leng Hua sat down and waited with him. At the same time, he told him some things about his master. At this time, there were no guests in the Heavenly Pill building. Only the people in the building were walking around. In addition, they were sitting in a corner, so no one else could hear their conversation. This wait lasted all the way until evening. Fengjiu walked out of the alchemy room and pulled up her sleeves, smelling the strong smell of medicine. She saw Lang Shuang walk up and say, Master, Senior Hun Yuan is here. He's been waiting for you since morning. He said he has something to talk to you about. Fengjiu, who was patting her sleeves, paused when she heard this. That old man is here. Go invite him in. Also call Leng Hua over. She ordered as she patted her sleeves, dispersing some of the smell of medicine. She pulled up her sleeves and sniffed. There was still a smell of medicine. When he heard Leng Shuang announce that Fengjiu had finished refining the pills, Hun Yuan immediately stood up and said to Leng Hua, Look, I've been waiting for an entire day. I have an urgent matter. As he spoke, he quickly walked to the backyard. Seeing this, Leng Hua smiled. Just as he was about to leave, he was stopped by his sister. Master wants you to come over. Leng Shuang looked at him and said. Leng Hua nodded. Okay, then let's go together. Then he walked to the backyard with his sister. In the backyard, as soon as Hun Yuanzi saw Fengjiu sitting at the table, he walked over and sat down casually. Leng Hua has told me about what happened to you in the past year. It hasn't been easy. To be able to come out of that kind of place, you really are Fengjiu. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled. You've told me? Then I don't need to tell you again. She picked up her tea and took a sip to moisten her throat. She asked, Why are you looking for me? All right, look at my memory. I really have an urgent matter to discuss with you. As Hun Yuan spoke, he looked at Fengjiu's calm face and changed the topic. Let me ask you first. How do you plan to deal with your elder brother, Guan Shilin? This matter has caused quite a stir. Everyone knows about it. She smiled and said, I've already sent people to look for him. You don't have to worry too much about him. Is that so? Can you leave now? The old man asked. Hearing this, Fengjiu, who was sipping tea, she looked at him. Something happened to Zhui Junwei. I just found out about it. Then, I heard that you're back, so I came to look for you. The old man sighed. Didn't you say that you're lacking some herbs? He's been out searching for them for the past year. He heard that there was a hidden clan that he needed some herbs, so he asked around and went to that hidden clan. He paused for a moment before continuing. Fortunately, I was careful at that time and left him a 1,000-mile sound transmission talisman. But in the end, he must have been in an emergency, so he only had time to tell me roughly where he was. He said that the place was a little strange, so I thought of you. You want me to go with you? Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and asked. Chapter 23:52. That area was indeed very strange. He wanted to bring Fengjiu along. If anything happened, at least there would be someone to discuss it with. Fengjiu pondered for a moment. She took out the teleportation scroll and asked, "Where is it?" The moment she took it out, she heard the old man's voice. "You don't have to look. It's not on it." Han Yuanzi said, "That place is isolated from the rest of the world. Even if you want to find it, it'll take some effort. The teleportation scroll doesn't have that place either." Hearing this, she paused for a moment and asked, "Then how long will it take to get there from here?" The main reason was that she had only returned for a few days and there was still no news of her brother. She was more worried that she would be gone for too long or that they would not be able to contact her for some reason. Han Yuanzi thought for a moment and said, "If we speed up the journey, it should take about a month." About a month, she thought for a moment and then nodded. "All right, I'll go with you, but you'll have to wait for a while. I can only leave after I've delegated some matters." She did not think that she would have to leave again so soon. However, she could not leave Zhuo Junyue's matter alone. "All right, go do your things. This old man won't mind waiting for you for a while." Han Yuanzi waved his hand and gestured for her to go about her business. Fengjiu then got up and instructed someone to take care of Han Yuanzi. She then went to the loft and called everyone over to give them detailed instructions. She also had someone leave a message for Mo Chun. When the sky darkened, Fengjiu took a bath and went to Han Yuanzi's place. "Old man, let's go." Feng Nine, who was dressed in green, walked out. She was still dressed as a man. The green and white robe on her body was less unrestrained and flamboyant than the red robe. Instead, she looked more handsome and elegant, like an elegant young master, which was very pleasing to the eye. Han Yuanzi looked at her in surprise. "Are you planning to travel through the night with this old man? Let's go. The sooner I finish, the sooner I can come back," Fengjiu said as he walked out. Seeing this, he followed. Just as the two of them were about to leave, the fire phoenix flapped her wings and flew over. "Master, aren't you bringing me along? You stay here and guard this place. If I'm not here, you can help look after it." Fengjiu tapped Fire Phoenix's head and smiled. "All right, be careful. I'll wait for you here." The Fire Phoenix could only say so. However, compared to a year ago, it was more at ease now that its master was at the peak of the immortal emperor realm. Thus, Fengjiu and Han Yuan directly left through the back door. It could be said that other than the people in charge of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, no one outside knew that she had just returned and left with Han Yuan. However, things were just so coincidental. About 2 hours after the two of them left, Ishiran also arrived at the Heavenly Pill Building. He knocked on the door of the Heavenly Pill Building. The person who opened the door was Du Fan. "Sir, what's the matter?" Du Fan looked at the man in front of him and sized him up. "I'm looking for your master," Ishiran said as he looked inside. As Ishiran spoke, he looked inside and saw that there were only a few people who were sorting out the medicinal herbs walking around, but he didn't see any familiar figures. "Sir, you are..." Chapter 23:53. When Du Fan saw the man walk in, he closed the door and followed in. "My master went out. Sir, you can come find her later." Ishiran paused when he heard this and turned to glance at Du Fan. "Went out? Didn't she just come back? Why did she go out again?" "She had some matters to attend to, so she went out," Du Fan said as his gaze landed on Ishiran. He had heard of Ishiran from Duan Yi, so he should be on good terms with master. "Where did she go? When will she be back?" he asked after finding a place to sit down. "She'll be back in about a month. As for where, I have no comment." "Pour me a cup of tea," Ishiran said to Du Fan. Du Fan had someone serve tea. Seeing Ishiran sitting there, frowning and shaking his head from time to time, Dufan found it strange and asked, "Young Master E, are you looking for my master for something? I just happened to be passing by and came in to see her." "What would be the matter?" Ishiran said lazily. He held the teacup in one hand and gently scraped the tea lid with the other. It was unknown what he was thinking. "All right, where's that Duanyi? I heard that her big brother caused quite a bit of trouble recently, and this mess hasn't been cleaned up yet. Can she be at ease to go out?" Ishiran asked as he sipped his tea. "Young Master E, thank you for your concern. My master left after handing over the matter." Dufan smiled politely. "Since she's not here, I'll stay and wait for her. A month should pass very quickly." Dufan was startled. "Young Master, he wants to stay here? Can't? Didn't you say she'd be gone for a month at most? Don't tell me you want me to go back?" Ishiran glanced at him and sat still. Dufan smiled. "That's not it. It's just that our heavenly pill dispensary has been facing quite a bit of trouble recently. I'm worried that we won't be able to greet young Master E if you stay here." "It's fine. I don't need you to greet me." Dufan's expression shifted. He glanced at Ishiran, who had no intention of leaving, and said, "Young Master E, please sit for a moment. I'll be right back." With that, he bowed and left. Arriving at the back, the 8 Phoenix Guard captains asked, "Who is that person?" "Ishiran." Dufan glanced at them. "Do you still remember the person Duan you mentioned?" "That's him." Hearing this, they looked at each other. That Ishiran that Duan Yi spoke of, whose strength isn't below his? Dufan nodded. "That's right. He said he came to look for Master. But you know that Master just left. He said he wants to stay here and wait for Master to come back. I want to discuss this with you and Lenghua. Is there anything wrong with this person? We haven't investigated his background. Wouldn't it be inappropriate to let him stay?" One of them asked. "That's what I'm worried about," Dufan said. Lenghua walked over with something in his hand. When he heard their conversation, he asked, "What are you worried about?" Chapter 2354. Stay at the Feng residence. Dufan looked at Lenghua in surprise. Lenghua nodded. "That's right. It's fine to have him stay at the Feng residence. There are many guest rooms there, and there are many people secretly keeping watch. Also, there aren't many important things there, so it should be fine to have him stay there." They looked at each other and finally said, "That's fine. Then we'll do as you say. Then I'll bring him to the Feng residence." As Dufan spoke, he walked to the tea table in front of Ishiran and smiled. "Young Master E, it's already late. Let me take you to rest." Ishiran glanced at him and nodded slightly before leaving with him. He only stopped when they arrived at the Feng residence. "This is where Fengjiu lives? As soon as Master returns, she'll return here to stay," Dufan said and knocked on the door. When an elder opened the door, he said to Ishiran, "Young Master E, please. Then which family does the Ling residence we saw on the way here belong to?" he asked Dufan. Dufan smiled brightly. "Young Master E, you can wait for my master to return and personally ask her the questions you want to know." As he spoke, he paused and continued. "The Feng Manor also has its own rules. There are some places that guests cannot go. In a bit, I will mention them to young Master E. In a few days, Duan Yi and the others will return. When that time comes, this place will be lively." When Ishiran saw this, he tactfully didn't ask any further and followed him inside. On the other side, Fengjiu and Hunyuan Zi, who had been hurrying through the night, flew on their flying tools. They silently swept across the night sky and headed into the distance. Several days later, "Old man, is this really the right direction?" Fengjiu frowned as he looked at the endless forest in the mountains. No matter how he looked, this place didn't look like a place where people lived. "Don't worry. It can't be wrong. I've been here a long time ago. Otherwise, how would I know that this place is strange?" Hunyuan took a sip of wine and glanced down. "It's still early. It'll take at least 2 or 3 days to arrive." As soon as he finished speaking, his stomach rumbled. Hearing this, Hunyuan smiled awkwardly. "I haven't eaten much meat in the past 2 days." Hearing this, Fengjiu looked down and said, "There should be some game down there. Let's go down and rest for a while. Let's hunt some game for dinner." Sure. His eyes lit up and he smiled. I haven't tasted your cooking in a long time. You go get some firewood. I'll hunt some game. When they reached the bottom, Fengjiu said to the old man. The two of them divided the work, and the location was under a big tree. All right, the old man responded. He picked up some trees in the surrounding area and said to Fengjiu, don't wander too far from here. Just hunt some rabbits or whatever to eat. Don't be too picky. Fengjiu raised his brows and glanced at the old man before heading into the forest. Was he worried that she would encounter danger in a place like this? The old man was really getting worse and worse. Walking into the forest, she felt that this dense forest was very humid. The air was very humid, and there was little sunlight. The surroundings were very quiet, and there weren't even the sounds of animals. She couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Looking from above, this dense forest was very lush. There was naturally no lack of game in such a place. However, after coming down, she discovered that there seemed to be something different. Chapter 23:55. Her gaze fell on the little baby who was wriggling about in the weeds in front of her in astonishment. How could there be a baby in this place? She felt strange and walked forward. Sure enough, it was a baby. However, this baby did not open his eyes, but his hands and feet were wriggling, and his mouth was making ah sounds. Looking at the naked baby wriggling about, she released her divine sense and scanned the surroundings, but found that there was no one else around except for her. However, just as she was about to withdraw her divine sense, a light breeze blew over, and she smelled a faint scent of blood. The scent of blood. She raised her eyebrows and looked at a certain place in the forest, then looked at the baby at her feet. Only then did she bend down and pick up the baby in the weeds. When she picked up the baby, her hands were wet. Looking down, she saw that there was a bleeding wound on the baby's back. He's injured. She was slightly surprised. Just now, she only smelled the scent of blood in the distance, but she did not smell the blood on the baby. Suppressing the strange feeling in her heart, she freed one hand and was about to take out a robe from her space to wrap the baby. But just as she freed her hand, the baby in her arms suddenly opened his eyes. When those eyes opened, they were not the eyes of a baby at all, but the eyes of a beast. Suddenly, the baby in her arms changed and jumped out of her arms like a demonic beast. Its mouth opened wide, revealing sharp fangs. Its claw-like hands grabbed her shoulder with one hand and her clothes with the other. Its bloodthirsty mouth suddenly moved forward and bit down on her neck. The sudden change made Fengjiu unable to avoid it. She could only stretch out her free hand and fiercely slap the demonic beast's head. A fierce aura flashed through her palm, and with a bang, the demonic beast's head flew out in an instant, but its body was still tightly attached to her body and was still moving. She swung her hand, trying to fling the demonic beast's body away. However, when the spiritual power in her body surged, a powerful aura bounced it away, and at the same time, the demonic beast's grip on her shoulder was torn open, revealing her bones. Frowning slightly, she let out a muffled groan. Her eyes were cold as she looked at the head and body of the demonic beast that was still moving. With a flip of her hand, 2 flames flew out, instantly burning the demonic beast's head and body clean. Feng Las, the old man, who had picked up the branches but did not see Fengjiu return, was a little worried, so he kept looking in the direction Fengjiu went. After walking a distance, he suddenly heard movement in front of him. Fengjiu's hand hung weakly. Her green robe was stained with blood, and she was trembling with fear. Her arm was trembling unconsciously because of the deep wound. She glanced down and heard the cries of a baby in front of her, which seemed to have been woken up. Her eyes flashed, and she walked forward. Feng Las. Hun Yuanzi's figure flew over, and in a few breaths, he had arrived at Fengjiu's side. When he saw her frightening wound, he could not help but gasp. Chapter 23:56. He hadn't seen her for a while, but she was covered in blood. There were also several wounds from her shoulder to her arm that were so deep that her bones could be seen. What was going on? I met a monster beast just now. Feng Jiao continued to walk forward, following the direction of the baby's cry. I was caught off guard and got hurt. Then you should treat the wound on your hand first. Where are you going? The old man said. He couldn't help but worry when he saw that most of her green clothes were dyed red. There's a child crying up ahead. She stopped and looked at the worried Hunyuan Zi with a smile. Don't worry about me. This injury is nothing. You call this a little injury? He glared at her and asked, Where's the child? How can there be a child in this deep forest? Before he could finish his sentence, he heard the sound of a child crying. He couldn't help but be stunned. There really is a child? Let's go ahead and take a look. As she spoke, she walked forward with the old man. After about 100 meters, they first saw some corpses and broken limbs on the ground. Those corpses seemed to have been hollowed out, leaving only skin and bones. That cruel scene made the two of them involuntarily raise their hearts, especially Feng Jiao. When the monster beast pounced on her, its original appearance seemed to be right in front of her. If she hadn't acted fast enough, she would probably have ended up like the corpses in front of her. This is too cruel, the old man muttered as he opened his eyes. The old man's eyes widened as he murmured. He looked at the corpses and saw that they were all the same. Their internal organs had been dug out, and their blood seemed to have been sucked dry. Even he had never seen such a scene before. In just an instant, Hunyuan Zi and the old man looked at each other in unison and looked forward. The two of them also released their divine senses and probed ahead, but they found that it seemed to be blocked by something. Strange, my divine senses can't detect what's ahead. Hunyuan Zi was surprised. When he heard the baby's cry, he said to Feng Jiao, The baby's cry is coming from up ahead. However, there might be a problem up ahead. Feng Jiao covered her injured hand with her uninjured hand. She activated the green lotus chi in her body and released a little green light through her palm, which quickly healed the deep wound from her shoulder to her arm. The wound was so deep that the bone could be seen. Hunyuan Zi's attention was focused on the front, so he didn't notice that Feng Jiao's hand was glowing. Therefore, no one knew that the deep wound was healing at a speed visible to the naked. I was injured by a monster beast with the ability to transform into a baby. Feng Jiao's voice came out of her mouth. She still covered her arm with one hand and looked at Hunyuan Zi. The human-shaped baby that the demonic beast transformed into doesn't have any demonic aura. Even I can't see through it. Be careful. Are you saying that your injury was caused by? Master Hunyuan pointed at the wound on her shoulder, but when he finished speaking and his gaze landed on the wound, he suddenly fell silent. His eyes widened in disbelief, and his mouth was agape as he looked at the smooth, snowy shoulder in shock. Just now, there were clearly a few scratches on her arm, but now the wound was gone. Chapter 23:57. As for the wound on her arm, it healed bit by bit as her hand moved, until it was as smooth as snow. This. He pointed at her healed arm incoherently, unable to say anything for a long time. Feng Jiao glanced at her arm and revealed a faint smile. I said it's only a small wound, but it still hurts. She could heal her wound, but the pain of being injured was something she had to bear. Let's go. Let's see what's going on up ahead. She walked forward. Hunyuan Zi returned to his senses and stared at her back for a long time before quickly following after her. When the two of them came to the front, they found that there were more than a dozen demonic beasts in front of them. These demonic beasts had no fur on their bodies, and their bodies were smooth and smooth. Unlike the ominous beasts, they walked on 2 feet like humans. The only difference was that these demonic beasts exuded demonic chi from head to toe. Their eyes were long and slender like a cat's eyes. Their noses were black, and their mouths were wide open like snakes swallowing animals. Those sharp fangs gave them a bloodthirsty and ferocious aura. And in the area surrounded by these demon heads, there was actually a small baby protected by a barrier. The baby was crying and waving its hands and feet. Outside the barrier, there were also 2 demon beasts trying to break open the barrier with their teeth. Seeing this scene, the two were slightly surprised. They didn't expect that there would be such a child in this place. Moreover, the child was protected by the barrier even though the adult was dead. Hunyuanzi's eyes glowed with wisdom as he stared at the demonic beasts and said, "This old man has traveled extensively for so many years, but this is the first time I've seen demonic beasts. TSK, TSK. So this is what demonic beasts look like." 17. "I'll take 10, you take 7, Fengjiu said. With a wave of her hand, the azure edge sword appeared in her hand. The azure edge sword hasn't been stained with blood for a year. Although they're demonic beasts, we can make do with them. As soon as she finished speaking, her figure flashed, and she instantly flew out. Ever since she was captured a year ago, and her brother and Imo Chun brought the azure edge sword back, it had never been with her. Only when she returned did Imo Chun return the azure edge sword that he had kept for a year. It had to be said that the red armillary sash was a pretty good treasure, but it was much weaker than the azure edge sword. Although the dagger was more flexible, it was still more suitable for close combat. In most battles, the azure edge sword was the most suitable weapon. Sharp sword chi shot out from the tip of the sword. With a flash of cold light, one of the demonic beasts that was charging forward was cut in half. A sharp hissing sound was heard as blood splattered out, splattering all over the ground. Bye. Bye. Some of the demonic beasts let out hissing sounds, while others let out strange cries. Their speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, they were in front of her. If she was an ordinary cultivator, she would have died under the fierce and fast attacks of these demonic beasts. Chapter 2358. The two of them used less than 30 minutes to kill the 17 demon beasts one by one. Looking at the blood on the ground, the two of them walked over to the small barrier. When they got closer, the two of them saw that the child was not on the ground, but inside a small bowl-like magic artifact. What kind of magic tool is this? I can't tell what material it is made of. Fengjiu looked at the thing under the child in the barrier. "Break the barrier first and take it out to sea," the old man said and motioned for her to do it. Seeing this, Fengjiu didn't do it. Instead, she stared at the child and asked, "Old man, do you think there should be no problem with this child? He shouldn't be transformed from a demon beast, right?" Hearing this, Hunyuanzi couldn't help but laugh. He glanced at Fengjiu and saw her conflicted face. He said with a smile, "What? Once bitten by a snake, 10 years shy of straw rope? That's not it. It's just that if you pick him up again and turn him into a demon beast, it won't feel good," Fengjiu said with a frown, but she still reached out and formed a seal. Spirit power surged and broke the barrier. Perhaps because he cried for too long, the baby's cries sounded a little hoarse. Fengjiu looked at the dancing child. He was only wearing a small doo-doo, and the blanket wrapped outside had been kicked away. Looking at the pink and chubby child, she bent down and picked him up. It was soft and heavy. She held it with one hand and lifted a corner of the doo-doo. Glancing at it, she said with a smile, "It's a boy." Saying this, she looked at Hunyuanzi, who was looking at the magic tool, and asked helplessly, "Why do I feel like I'm more fated with these little babies and demon beasts? I picked one up as soon as I went out." "Anyway, you haven't picked up a baby yet. It's fate that you met this one. Don't talk about raising those contracted beasts. Even if you raise a few more babies, you can still afford it. With this child's current state, I guess you'll have to raise him in the future," Hunyuanzi said, and looked at the baby who stopped crying in Fengjiu's arms. He joked, "Look, this child stopped crying in your arms. It's like he knows you're his mother." Hearing this, Fengjiu was speechless. "I'm not married yet. So what if you're not married? Can't you adopt a child if you're not married? If you like him, you can keep it by your side. It's not a big problem," the old man said disapprovingly. He handed the blanket and the item to Fengjiu and said, "In my opinion, this child's origin is probably not ordinary. The corpses we saw earlier were probably not this child's parents." "What?" She raised her eyebrows and was a little surprised. "This is an immortal weapon, not an ordinary magic tool. There are patterns on it, but even I can't tell where it came from. However, this immortal weapon has no owner. It's just a small bed for this child to sleep on. It's obvious that this child's parents are not ordinary. Chapter 23:59. Upon hearing this, Fengjiu's mouth twitched. She glanced at Hun Yuanzi speechlessly. Old man, it's a waste that you're not a storyteller. You don't believe me? The old man glared at her. I've lived for a long time and have encountered many more things than you. This old man can always guess correctly. Yes, 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 you're amazing. Fengjiu was too lazy to say more. She only said, aren't you looking for something to eat? I'll take the child back to the tree. You can look around for game. Be careful and don't go too far. With that, she took the child's things from the old man and put them into the space. Then, she carried the child and walked back. This little heartless girl, leaving this old man here like this. Hun Yuanzi cursed in a low voice. He walked in the other direction of the forest, preparing to catch 2 rabbits or 2 snakes for a meal. As for Fengjiu, she carried the child back to the tree where the branches were piled. Seeing that there was no one around, she carried the child and flashed into the space. She placed the child to the side of the space and took off her clothes to wipe her body. Then, she changed into a green robe. When she saw the child she had placed to the side, crying again, she walked forward and picked him up. Okay, don't cry. Good boy, don't cry. She gently coaxed him. However, the child kept crying. She thought for a moment, and her gaze fell on the child's stomach. She was a little startled. Could it be that he's hungry? What should I do? She flashed out of the space and walked around the tree with the child in her arms. She was a little worried. The things that adults could eat were not things that this child, who was only a few months old, could eat. There was nothing that babies could eat in this place. I've got it. She took out a bottle of nutrient solution from the space and smiled. She gently tapped the mouth of the baby in her arms. You're lucky to have met me. You even have nutrient solution to drink. She found a place to sit down, holding the child in one hand and feeding him the nutrient solution with the other. Fengjiu couldn't help but chuckle when she saw the little guy opening his mouth like a starving chick and swallowing the nutrient solution. Little fellow, you're even more adorable than the little white tiger. After a while, the old man came back with 2 spirit chickens in his hands. He said to Fengjiu, I wanted to catch 2 rabbits or 2 snakes, but I didn't see any. Fortunately, I caught 2 spirit chickens. I thought that the meat would be very tender when roasted. Come, I'll leave them to you. He twisted the necks of the 2 chickens and threw them to the ground. Then, he walked towards the Fengjiu. He wanted to carry the baby in her arms so that she could roast the chickens. Wash your hands with water. Fengjiu stared at his hands. This child is only a few months old. His body is weak. You just caught a chicken, so you have to wash it before you can hold him. Okay. You're so troublesome. The old man took out his water bag and poured water to wash his hands. After wiping them clean, he looked at Fengjiu. Is this okay? Seeing this, Fengjiu handed the baby in her arms to him. Then you can rest here with him. There's a stream not far ahead. I'll clean up these 2 chickens before I come back. Okay, go ahead. Chapter 23:60. Fengjiu, who had just taken a few steps, heard the sound and paused. She turned around and looked in surprise at the old man, who had an ugly expression on his face. When she smelled the stench, the corner of her mouth twitched. Did he poop? She looked at the child blinking innocently in the old man's arms and smiled. She stepped back and said, This, you deal with it yourself. I'll go take care of the 2 chickens first. With that, she quickly walked away, leaving the old man standing there stiffly. The old man recovered after a long while. Looking at the child who was still kicking his feet, he glared and said, This old man has lived for so many years, and no one has ever dared to poop? Poop? Humph. He could not say that word. When he thought of the child's filth on his body, he felt his scalp tingle. Immediately, he carried the child to the place where Fengjiu was. Fengjiu, who had deftly taken care of the 2 spirit chickens, saw the old man carrying the child over. She smiled and said jokingly, Old man, this child is so good to you. You just carried him and he's already made you like this. I guess this is the first time you've seen this, right? Hurry up and roast those 2 chickens. Later, you can take the child yourself." As the old man spoke, he carried the child with one hand and took off his clothes with the other. He placed the child on the clean clothes on the ground. Fengjiu smiled when she saw this. "Okay, you wash first. I'll come over later." As she spoke, she smiled and walked back. She lit the fire and roasted the 2 chickens on the rack. She sprinkled some seasoning. Not long after, she saw the old man carrying the child in a doo-doo over. "I'll get him back to you." The old man handed the child to Fengjiu and sat down by the fire. He took out a cup of wine and took a sip. What a little ancestor. This old man has lived for so long and has never served anyone. Fengjiu took the child and smiled. "When this child grows up, let him serve you." Hearing this, the old man looked at her with slight surprise. "From what you're saying, do you really intend to keep this child? Didn't you want me to raise him as a son?" Fengjiu raised his eyebrows and looked at him mockingly. The old man glared at him. "I told you to keep it, and you're really keeping it? You're an unmarried young lady, yet you're following the little guy around and calling him mother. This isn't too good, right? There's nothing bad about it. When we go back, I'll find a nanny for this little thing and ask Lung Shuang and the others to help take care of it. I'll just play with this little guy when I'm free. I don't think I'll have anything to do most of the time." She had already made plans. Since they didn't know the origins of this child, nor did they know where this child's relatives were, then they would raise him first. Once it grew up, she would let him look for it himself. Moreover, this little fellow was very cute and had been saved by her, so there was nothing wrong with keeping it by her side. Han Yuanzi looked at her for a while and finally said, "Since you've said so, then let's keep it. However, isn't it a little inappropriate for us to have a child by our side right now?" "That can't be helped." She took out an old robe from her space and wrapped the child up. She said to Han Yuanzi, "Quickly turn the roast chicken. Don't burn it." Chapter 2361. Since you're keeping him by your side, why don't you give him a name? The old man added some firewood as he spoke. Fengjiu thought about it. "That's true. We should give him a name. But what should we call him?" She looked at the old man and asked, "Why are you looking at me? You can think of a name for yourself." "I don't know." He glared at her and ignored her. Fengjiu thought for a moment when she heard this, and then she said, "Then I'll name it Hao. How about Howler?" "How?" The old man stroked his beard and said, "Hao has the same pronunciation as Hao. It means that the power of the water is boundless. Using it as a name shows that you have high hopes for him." The power of water and fire between heaven and earth was immeasurable. This baby's background aside, now that he was given the name Hao by the Phoenix Star, it was obvious that he would be extraordinary in the future. "Feng Hao." The old man glanced at Fengjiu and asked, "Feng Hao?" Fengjiu was stunned and then chuckled. "How is that possible? Of course it's Xianyuan Hao. He's my and Moses' child." She smiled and narrowed her eyes. The old man muttered with a strange expression, "You're really thick-skinned. You're not married yet. You said it was your and Moses' child, and even gave him the surname Xianyuan Mose. Look at you. It's as if you're going to marry Xianyuan Mose. Why? Do you have a problem with that?" Fengjiu raised her brows and said, "Who else am I going to marry if not him? We're in love with each other. We're just short of a trip to pay our respects to heaven and earth. Didn't I hear that Xianyuan Mose went overseas for a while? Counting the year you disappeared, it's been at least a year and a half, right? Are you so assured that he won't come back? If he brought back a woman yesterday, I'll see how you'll cry." The old man said sarcastically, as if he was deliberately making things difficult for Fengjiu. Fengjiu chuckled. "He won't. How do you know? Men are very fickle, especially when their women are not by their side. It is easier for them to be seduced by other women. I advise you to keep a close eye on them. I have lived for so long and have seen a lot of things like this." Fengjiu chuckled, playing with the child's chubby little hand in his arms as he said, "Don't worry. If he really betrays me one day, I will sever all ties with him and find another man who is better than him. It's easier said than done, especially when it comes to love. So no matter what you say, this old man won't believe it." The old man waved his hand, his face full of disbelief. What does it matter to me whether you believe me or not? She chuckled and said, besides, this kind of thing is just chatting with me. It won't happen. Seeing the confidence in her expression and the trust in Xinyuan Mo's in her words, the old man laughed. Yes, yes, yes. That's your business. What does it have to do with us? Not to mention, it's just as you said, we're just chatting. Don't take it seriously. Don't take it seriously. Feng Jiu didn't continue to talk about this issue with him. She just said, it's getting late. Let's rest here for the night first. We'll leave tomorrow morning. Okay. Chapter 2362. The two of them rested in the forest for a night and ate a roasted chicken. They wrapped up the remaining chicken and put it into their chinkuan bag. The next day, when the sky brightened, they continued their journey and flew into the sky on their magic tools. However, along with the two of them, there was an additional child blinking his pure eyes. With the addition of a child, their journey slowed down. The original 2-day journey took a full 3 days to reach their destination. That evening, because of the clouds and fog, they came down from the sky on their magic tools. Standing in the dense forest where they could barely see their own fingers, Feng Jiu asked, are there really people living here? There's too much fog here. We can't even see the road. As soon as she finished speaking, a gust of night wind blew, and she couldn't help but feel her hair stand on end. At this moment, the little bell at her waist gently rang. Even Hao who had never cried in her arms, began to cry. Wah wah, wah wah. The child's cries were loud and clear in the forest. Han Yuanzi heard the child crying and came to Feng Jiu's side. What's wrong? Why are you crying all of a sudden? Are you hungry again? Feng Jiu held the child in one hand and looked around. She said, I'm not hungry again, but there's something dirty around here. She looked at the sky. It was not dark yet, but the aura around her was a little colder. The branches swayed gently and the leaves rubbed against each other, making rustling sounds. At this moment, a mournful and sharp howl spread through the forest. Give me your life. At the same time, she reached out and covered the child's ears. Her sharp gaze swept the surroundings. She saw that there were floating shadows in the fog. They blended in with the thick fog and were difficult to distinguish. Looks like there are quite a lot of dirty things. As the old man spoke, he waved his hands, and a gust of air rushed out from his sleeves, blowing away a lot of the fog in the surroundings. As soon as the fog dispersed, the illusory figures that surrounded them appeared in front of them. Glancing at the figures, Feng Jiu hugged the child and said, Old man, be careful. What do you mean? Han Yuanzi was taken aback. He didn't quite understand why she suddenly told him to be careful. Both of them were surrounded. If they had to be careful, they had to be careful together. However, he soon understood what Feng Jiu meant. Ah! The phantoms screamed and pounced at the old man with their claws. Even the phantoms around Feng Jiu stared at Feng Jiu for a while before turning to Master Han Yuan. All of a sudden, a dozen phantoms attacked him, leaving him shocked and confused. Hiss! What was going on? Ah! He didn't pay attention and felt a ghost pass through his body. In an instant, he felt a pain in his head, as if the ghost that passed through his body wanted to take over his body. Old man, what are you doing? Do you want to die? Quickly stabilize your mind. Feng Jiu was shocked when she saw this scene. What was this old man doing? He actually lost his mind and let the ghost enter his body. If it did, it would be troublesome. Chapter 2363. However, as soon as that specter left, the other specters surrounded Han Yuanzi, causing him to cry out in shock. What's going on? Why are these filthy things only bothering me and not you? I have something on me that they don't dare to approach. Feng Jiu looked at the specters that were bothering Han Yuanzi and said, These things are afraid of yang and fire. Can you deal with them? This old man was just careless. Do you think this old man can't even deal with these filthy things? Watch this. As Hun Yuanzi spoke, he turned his hands, and the aura in his body surged. With a wave of his hands, an 8 trigrams diagram appeared around him, and even he was inside the diagram. As the 8 trigrams his hand spun, the specter screamed and were instantly sucked into the 8 trigrams diagram and disappeared. He withdrew his aura and exhaled lightly. He glanced at Fengjiu and raised his chin slightly, saying proudly, "How is it? This old man doesn't make a move, but once I do, I'll definitely scare off all ghosts." Fengjiu's mouth twitched. "Yes, you'll scare off all ghosts." With that, she stepped forward. "Hey, be careful. This place is very strange. This old man came here once and got lost. I was trapped for several months before I managed to get out." He shouted to Fengjiu as he followed her closely. "You're really something. You've been trapped here for several months, and you still have the nerve to say that. This old man is reminding you to be careful." As the two of them talked and walked, the fog that had dispersed gradually gathered again, blocking their line of sight. Just as their figures disappeared into the fog, a pair of blood-red eyes suddenly appeared behind them, staring through the fog at the two people who were gradually disappearing into the distance. The two people who were walking forward seemed to have sensed something at the same time. They stopped and looked back at the same time, releasing their divine senses to investigate. However, I didn't find anything. "Do you feel like someone is watching us?" Han Yuan asked Fengjiu as he stared at the vast expanse of whiteness. "I did have such a feeling, but I didn't sense the aura. Now it seems to have disappeared," she said softly. She hugged Hao, who had stopped crying, and patted his back gently with one hand. "Be careful. There's really something wrong with this place," the old man said again. "I know." Fengjiu agreed and continued to walk forward with him. After walking for a while, she felt that the fog was getting thicker and thicker to the point where she couldn't even see her fingers in front of her. Suddenly, she heard a rustling sound, like the rustling of leaves or the sound of something passing through the weeds. When she swept her divine sense in the direction of the sound, she didn't feel anything. The fog in front of her was too thick, and she couldn't see the path beneath her feet. Thus, she raised her hand and flicked her sleeve. A gust of qi gushed out from her sleeve and dispersed from the fog in front of her. "Old man, is the fog in this place always like this?" she asked. However, there was no sound beside her, and Huan Yuan's aura was also gone. Sensing this, she frowned slightly and looked to her side and behind her. "Old man." Chapter 2364. Meanwhile, on the other side, Hun Yuanzi was staring at the green-robed figure in front of him and following her. After walking for some distance, he said, "Fengjiu, don't you think this place is a little strange? Where did this fog come from? Why is there such a big fog all over this place? I remember it wasn't this foggy when I came here before." The figure in front of him walked slowly, as if she didn't hear Hun Yuanzi's words. She just quickened her pace. "Hey, this old man is talking to you. Why are you walking so fast?" He reached out to pull her, but who would have thought that when he pulled her, the person who was walking forward suddenly turned around and pounced at him with a grin like a demonic beast. "Ah!" The old man was startled and immediately cried out. Some distance away, Fengjiu faintly heard Hun Yuanzi's cry of surprise and immediately shouted, "Old man, where are you?" Her voice was imbued with spirit power, and it spread clearly throughout the area. It also fell into Huan Yuan's ears. "Over here." She couldn't see him, but she could hear his voice in the fog. Fengjiu walked towards a voice. After walking for some distance, she saw Hun Yuanzi running towards her with a frightened expression. "I'm here." Fengjiu, who was walking towards him, saw him and her eyes flashed. She looked at the old man running over and asked, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. I just encountered a few ghosts and I caught them. I rushed back when I heard you call me." As he spoke, the old man's gaze was fixed on the white and soft sleeping Hao in Fengjiu's arms. He couldn't help but swallow and said, "You must be tired after carrying him for so long, right? Let me help you carry him." As soon as he finished speaking, he reached out to carry the child in Fengjiu's arms. Yes, you carry him. Be careful. As she spoke, the moment she handed the child over, the Qing Feng sword appeared in her hand and stabbed at the old man. It was so fast that he didn't even have a chance to dodge. He could only watch as the sword pierced through his heart, causing him to let out a shrill scream. Ah! At the same time, the old man's appearance also changed. When Feng Jiu pulled out his Qing Feng sword and struck out with his palm, the old man turned into a demonic beast. No, it should be said that he had returned to his original state. The demonic beast still tried to escape after having its heart pierced by the sword. Feng Jiu's Qing Feng sword flew out with a swoosh, chopping down from top to bottom. Only the sound of sharp sword chi could be heard, followed by the sound of an explosion and a scream. The thick smell of blood filled her nose. She protected the baby in her arms with one hand and retracted her sword with the other. She believed that the old man was still in the area, and the voice from before must have been the old man's voice. However, why was there no movement after that voice? It seemed that there was not only a maze formation here, but also a spirit formation. The old man had probably fallen into a spirit formation or a spirit formation. She immediately calmed her heart and carefully scanned the surroundings with her divine sense. At this moment, Hun Yuanzi was trapped in the spirit formation again, just as Feng Jiu had expected. Seriously, I clearly told you to be careful and not to be trapped in the spirit formation again, but you're trapped again. If that girl knows, she'll definitely laugh at me, he muttered as he tried to walk out of the spirit formation. Chapter 2365. He widened his eyes. Could it be that he had been shouting for a long time and there was no sound? But that wasn't right. There wasn't a soundproof barrier here before. He reached out and waved his hand, breaking the soundproof barrier. Then he shouted, little phone, do you hear me? This old man is here. Little phone. As he shouted, he walked around the array and returned to his original spot. He couldn't help but tug at his beard in annoyance. Who set up this broken array? It's so hard to get out. Feng Jiu, who heard his voice, walked around the array and knocked down a tree outside the array. With a bang, the array's light disappeared and the surrounding fog dispersed. The old man's figure walked out happily. I told you I had to bring you along. Look, it's so much easier with you here. Hun Yuan said happily. He quickly walked to her and asked, "Oh right, are you okay?" This old man just met a demonic beast again. Feng Jiu was speechless when she heard his words. So her use was only to break the array? After hearing his words, she said, "Didn't you say you were following me? How did you disappear all of a sudden?" The fog was too thick. I kept following you. But who knew that demonic beast would transform into your appearance? If this old man didn't react fast enough, he would have fallen for it. He patted his chest and said with a frightened expression, "You don't know, but when he saw your face transform into that bloodthirsty demonic beast's ferocious appearance, this old man was scared out of his wits." Hearing this, Feng Jiu glanced at him and said, "After I realized you were gone, I looked everywhere for you and also met a demonic beast that had transformed into your appearance." As she said this, she looked at the place with a thoughtful expression. No one knew what she was thinking. "What? You also met it? Then how did you see through it? You're not hurt, are you?" He was shocked. Only then did he look at her and Hao in her arms. That demonic beast probably liked Hao's white and tender skin, so it asked me to give Hao to it. I beat it at its own game and killed it when it was unprepared, Feng Jiu said lightly. She paused and glanced at the old man. There are not only spirits here, but also demonic beasts. This place is really not suitable for living in seclusion. So I'm very suspicious. Did you lead me into a ditch? How is that possible? I don't think so. After all, I came here more than 10 years ago. I remember it very clearly. This place. His voice became softer and softer. In the end, under Feng Jiu's gaze, he moved his lips, but no sound came out. Maybe... Hearing this, Feng Jiu sighed softly. I knew you were unreliable. If Shui Junyue was really in danger, he probably wouldn't have waited for us to find him. Hearing this, The old man coughed softly and said, "Well, why don't we look for him again? Maybe we can find the way." Chapter 2366. This time, the old man did not lead the way. Instead, Fengjiu walked along the front of the formation, avoiding the dense fog. After walking for half a day in the forest, the two sat down under a tree to rest. Flying on swords is restricted in this area. Otherwise, we could go up to the sky and take a look, the old man said softly. Fengjiu took out some water to drink and fed some to the child before saying, "You said that this is the territory of that clan. Flying is restricted here. Since that's the case, only their people can move freely in this area. We can only walk. If you hadn't led us astray, we probably wouldn't have wandered around here for so long," she said angrily. She said angrily as she put away the water skin. At this moment, she suddenly heard the sound of fighting coming from the forest. "Listen," she tugged at his sleeve, indicating for him to listen carefully. The old man saw her expression and listened carefully. When the sound of battle faintly came from the depths of the forest, his eyes lit up. "Someone's there? Let's go and take a look." The two of them followed the sound and came to the front. They saw a young man and woman being besieged by more than a dozen monstrous beasts. Fengjiu glanced at the two of them and motioned to the old man beside her. The old man understood and immediately helped. The young man and woman were in the Golden Core realm. It was difficult for them to deal with more than 10 monsters. Their bodies were covered in wounds, and they gradually could not keep up with the monsters. They sent a signal, but the reinforcements did not come. They could not help but feel a trace of despair. However, at that moment, an old man suddenly appeared. He released a powerful chi in an instant. His astonishing battle prowess helped them turn the situation around. The demonic beasts were either dead or had fled. After the danger was over, the two of them couldn't help but express their gratitude. "Thank you for saving us, Senior." The two bowed to Hunyuan and looked at him with surprise. "Ha ha, you're welcome." The old man stroked his beard and smiled. He looked at the wounds on the two and said, "You're injured badly. Treat your wounds first." "Okay." The two of them agreed and helped each other to bandage their wounds. When they saw one of the men carrying a baby who was looking around with his eyes wide open, they couldn't help but feel strange. Demonic beasts often appear in this area. "Why are the two of you here? With a child?" the man asked. He felt that the combination of an old man, a young man, and a baby was a little strange. "We're here to look for someone. Do the two of you know of a hidden clan in this area?" Fengjiu asked the two of them. Hearing this, the two of them were slightly surprised and glanced at them. They didn't want to answer, but when they remembered that the old man had just saved them, they looked at each other and asked, since it's a hidden family clan, it naturally doesn't have any contact with the outside world. "Why are the two of you looking for that family clan?" "To tell you the truth, we brought this child to find his father," Fengjiu said, ignoring the astonished look of the old man beside him. He said with a worried face, "The child came here to look for medicine, but who knew that after entering a family clan, he would not be allowed to leave? We were worried that something would happen to him, so we brought the child to look for him." Hearing this, the young man and woman looked at each other, somewhat stunned. Chapter 2367. "Do you know how to get to that family?" Fengjiu asked again. The two of them hesitated. After some hesitation, the woman asked, "Is the person you're looking for surnamed Zhua? Zhuijunwe?" Hearing this, Fengjiu was pleasantly surprised. Yes, that's him. He's the child's father. Have you seen him before?" Hearing this, the woman glanced at the man beside her. She paused and said, "We've only seen him once from afar. I know he's here to ask for medicine, but..." Fengjiu looked worried. "But what?" "But our family head's youngest daughter has taken a liking to him. The family is now preparing for their wedding," the woman said and looked at the child in Fengjiu's arms sympathetically. Hearing this, the old man was stunned. Zhuijunwe had made it sound so dangerous and urgent. So it was because someone had taken a liking to him and wanted him to be their son-in-law? To think that he had looked for Fengjiu so urgently to save him. If he had known that the kid was in such a good situation, he would not have bothered to make this trip. Fengjiu's eyes flashed when he heard the woman's words. He really did not expect this. She had been thinking along the way. When the old man had told her about Zhuo Junyue's request for help, she had used the child as an excuse. She had thought that since the other party had no grudges with Zhuo Junyue, she would not make things difficult for him on account of the fact that he had such a young child. She did not expect that the other party would not make things difficult for him. It was this young miss from a reclusive family who had taken a liking to Zhuo Junyue. This was interesting. Her eyes flickered and a dark light flashed across her eyes. It was so fast that no one noticed it. "Miss, can we trouble you to bring us over? Let the child meet his father?" Fengjiu asked and looked at the woman hopefully. "But it's useless even if you go. Fourth young miss will not let the person she has taken a liking to leave. Moreover, the family head has agreed to this marriage. You won't be able to change anything even if you go." Cough. The old man coughed lightly, glanced at Fengjiu, and then said to the other two, "Actually, we are his family. If he wants to get married, shouldn't we be present?" Hearing this, the woman and the man looked at each other and discussed in low voices. "I don't think it's appropriate to bring them along. If the fourth young miss finds out, she'll definitely vent her anger on us. Don't forget, we're only a branch family. If anything happens to her marriage halfway, I'm afraid the patriarch won't let us off. But they are Zhuo Junyue's relatives, and the child is still so young." The woman couldn't bear it, especially since the old man had saved them before. "That senior's strength is unfathomable. I'm worried that when he goes over, he will cause some trouble in this marriage. Moreover, although our clan rarely interacts with the outside world, we still invited many reclusive clans that we are on good terms with for fourth young lady's wedding. If something goes wrong, I'm afraid this—" The woman hesitated. She wanted to help them, but she didn't know how. Chapter 2368. Seeing this, the two of them thought for a moment and finally agreed. "All right then, we'll take you there as a way to repay Senior for saving our lives, but you can't tell anyone about us." "Don't worry, we won't," the old man said with a smile, not forgetting to pat his chest as a guarantee. Fengjiu also revealed a smile. Just as he was about to follow them, he felt the hand holding the child's but become wet. He couldn't help but stop walking and take the child out of the red armillary sash. "Ah," he peed again. As she spoke, she called the old man over. Come, help me hold him. I'll change his diaper." She directly stuffed the child into the old man's arms and took out a piece of cloth that could be tied around the child's waist from her chinquin pouch. The young man and woman at the side stood and watched as Fengjiu helped the child change the cloth and tied it around the child's waist with two straps to secure the cloth's position. Then, he wrapped the child in an old garment and held him in his arms. Seeing a grown man move so skillfully, the two of them couldn't help but feel a little strange. Very few men would do such a thing. Moreover, why did they come to find the child's father? Why didn't the child's mother come? Although they were puzzled, the two of them didn't ask. After they helped the child change the cloth, they led them in the direction of the clan. After about half a day, they led them out of the forest and said to them, "Follow this road and you'll find it. We have to go first." "All right, thank you," Fengjiu said and watched the two of them leave first. Only then did he walk ahead with the old man. In the evening, the two of them finally saw the clan inside. They saw that it wasn't a forest, but a large piece of flat land. However, the manor's walls were so high that they could only vaguely see some roofs from outside. The two of them came to the front and knocked on the door. The two of them were guards who opened the door. After sizing up the old man, Fengjiu, and the child in Fengjiu's arms, they asked, "Who are you two? What brings you here?" Fengjiu restrained her aura and suppressed her strength. The other party could not see the depth of her strength, but the old man did not suppress his strength. Therefore, the two guards did not dare to be too presumptuous. "We are here to look for your patriarch," the old man said as he looked through the open door. It seemed to be quite lively inside. "Do the two of you have an invitation?" the guard asked. Invitation? What was that? We didn't. The old man paused before he could finish his words. He stared at Fengjiu, who had suddenly sealed the two men's acupoints, and asked, "What are you doing? Aren't we going in?" "That's the most direct way," Fengjiu said as he walked past the two of them. Seeing this, the old man hurriedly followed and asked, "They're stuck there and can't move. I reckon they'll be discovered soon. Aren't you worried that they'll mobilize the entire manor to look for us? Since we're already here, why should we be afraid of trouble? Let's go. Let's find Zhua Junya first." She walked slowly. She had already put away the red armillary sash and carried Hao in her arms. When the old man saw this, he had no choice but to follow her inside. When they entered, some of the servants thought that they were guests of the residence, and all of them bowed slightly in greeting. Chapter 23:69. The old man saw that she was so magnanimous, but he also walked with his head held high and his chest out. He put one hand behind his back and stroked his beard with the other hand. Just as the two were about to pass by the maid who was curtsying, the old man winked and wanted to say something to Fengjiu, but he heard her voice coming out. "Wait a moment." She stopped and called out to the servant girl who was about to leave. When the servant girl heard her voice, she stopped and turned around to bow. She asked in a warm voice, "What orders does this esteemed guest have? Where's your fourth young Miss fiancé?" she asked. Hearing this, the servant girl was slightly surprised. She paused and glanced at Fengjiu from the corner of her eyes before saying, "The future son-in-law is in the South Flower Courtyard. Lead the way for us. We want to see him." Fengjiu said, "The fourth young miss has ordered that no one is allowed to see the future son-in-law before the wedding." Hearing this, Fengjiu's eyes flashed and asked in a different way, "Then how do we get to the South Flower Courtyard?" "Go straight and turn left when you reach a fork in the road. Walk around the fake mountain and you'll reach it," the servant girl replied. She was puzzled. Why did this guest want to see their future son-in-law? Hearing this, Fengjiu and the old man walked over according to the maid's instructions. At this time, the two people at the gate didn't react because the gate had been open all this time, which attracted the attention of the people in the mansion. After an old man unsealed their acupoints and inquired about them, he hurriedly walked into the mansion. In the front courtyard, in the hall, the family head was greeting a few old friends and listening to them talk about the recent events outside. Oh, in that case, this woman, known as the ghost doctor, can really be called a ghost genius. The Luo family head listened to his old friends and couldn't help but feel curious. There was actually such an outstanding woman, and he really wanted to see her. Isn't that so? The ghost doctor Fengjiu's name is very well known outside. Everyone knows who she is. A middle-aged man sitting on the left said with a smile. However, I heard that she had been missing for almost a year. Some people say that she was killed outside. However, it seems that her contracted beast is still alive, so she shouldn't be dead. There's also another rumor. This woman is very likely to be the star of the Phoenix. That's right. The people of the four great immortal sects are very certain of this. It's a pity that we don't know where Fengjiu is. Just as they were talking about the most legendary events outside, the Luo family head saw the steward anxiously walk to his side and whisper a few words in his ear. After hearing those words, he stood up apologetically and said to the masters of the hidden families who had specially come, "I'm really sorry. Something came up at the last minute, and I have to deal with it." Hearing this, they all smiled and said, "Brother Luo, you don't need to be polite. Let's take a stroll around the estate first. It's rare for us to come to the Luo estate, so this time we have to properly admire the Luo estate's most famous 100-medicine forest. It's rare for you all to be so interested." Of course, the Luo family head smiled and said to the old man beside him, "First elder, why don't you accompany them to the 100-medicine forest?" Chapter 23:70. They've snuck into the residence? Family head Luo frowned and said with a dark expression, "How dare they? Do they think just anyone can sneak into the Luo family? Get someone to find those two immediately." "Yes, The housekeeper replied. Just as he was about to leave, he was called back. Wait. Family head Luo stopped him and said in a low voice, search in secret. Don't alert the guests. Yes. The housekeeper left. On the other side, when Fengjiu and Master Hunyuan arrived at the Southflower Hall and saw the two guards outside the hall, their expressions changed slightly. After the old man glanced at Fengjiu, he walked forward first, but before he could get close to the courtyard door, he was blocked. Are you two guests in the wrong place? This is Nanhua Courtyard. We don't receive guests, one of the guards said. That's right. We're here to look for Zhuo Junhua. The old man smiled and said. He copied Fengjiu and suddenly sealed their acupoints. Then, he turned to Fengjiu and said, Let's go. Let's go in and take a look. The two entered the courtyard and scanned with their divine senses. They locked onto one of the rooms. When they opened the door, they saw that there was no one outside. When they walked into the room, they found Zhuo Junhua lying on the bed. This kid is lucky. We came all the way here, but he's sleeping here. The old man muttered and patted him. Why aren't you getting up? How long are you going to sleep for? However, Zhuo Junhua didn't react when the two entered or when the old man patted him. The old man couldn't help but be shocked. He hurriedly pulled Fengjiu forward. Come and see what's going on. Why isn't this kid reacting? Fengjiu handed the child to the old man. Then, he went forward to check Zhuo Junhua's pulse. After a while, he withdrew his hand and said, He's fine. It seems like he's just too tired and fell asleep. That's not right. This kid's vigilance has always been good. No matter how tired he is, he wouldn't sleep like a pig. The old man shouted a few more times, but there was still no response. Seeing this, Fengjiu also felt that it was a little strange. However, when she checked his pulse, it was as usual. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Thus, she took out a bottle of medicine and placed it under his nose for him to smell. Not long after, he slowly woke up. Fengjiu saw that he opened his eyes and stared blankly at the top of the bed. She asked, How do you feel? Zhuo Junhua looked at Zhuo Junhua and quickly got up. Hearing this, Fengjiu and Hunyuan were startled. You're here for the wedding banquet? Zhuo Junhua asked. He sat on the bed and looked at the two. His gaze fell on the child in the old man's arms who was blinking at him. He was a little surprised. Where did this child come from? Hearing his words, the two of them were stunned. Now, they could confirm that there was really something wrong with him, and it was a big problem. The two of them ignored him. Instead, they pulled him to a corner and whispered, You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.